apologize right off the bat. I'm not feeling really well. I did take a coronavirus test. I do not have the corona. I was in Dallas last week, and every time I fly, I get some kind of funk. So I did test negative, so don't freak out.
We'll move it to the back row.
What's that?
We'll move it to the back row.
Good. That's why I gave you all the little napkins.
That's what this is for.
The hankies, so you can cover your face and, whatever. All right, what we're going to do today is, this is an LG DFS 4 and a DFS 10. Now, I think there's like 4 of you guys who are excellence dealers in here, and you need to take this class and that other class for your recertification. There's a caveat to all this, and I tried cheesing this, and I'm working with LG. You guys are going to eventually have to get into what they call Skooks. Skooks is a pain in the ass. Excuse my French, but it is. Usually, to get recertified, you have to come to a training center, which we finally are now. I'm trying to get the logistics, computer-wise, worked out with LG. Because usually you would have to either go to one of their centers, or they started viral when the coronavirus came around. You're going to eventually have to get in, sign up on it, and there's a test that is the last part of this class that you are going to have to take. What I was trying to do to make it easy on you, because it is very frustrating getting through Skooks, was to register you guys and then schedule and register you for this class, and then give you guys the username and password so you could then go on and just take the test and life would be easy. It's not that easy. So I'm waiting to hear back. I talked to them Monday and I talked to them last night, and we're trying to figure out how we can make this as easy as possible. In their mind, you guys should all sign into Skooks and do it all by yourself, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to make it easier. I will say I love LG as a product line, but they've had their issues with training, and I've made my voice known a few times. I do know that they have a new training manager that actually came from Mitsubishi, so obviously Mitsubishi has killer training. I've never worked for a Mitsubishi dealer, but I've gone against them plenty of times, and I've talked to plenty of guys who are the gold dealers, and their training blows us away, and that's where this guy's trying to get this program to finally. So if you go to lghvac.com, that's this page here, and then you go to the training tab, and what I do is I scrolled all the way down. This is the easiest way to get into the Skooks. Scroll all the way down and sign up for training. This is where individually you guys have to create your account for Skooks. Once you create your account, there's some navigating, and I'm working with LG so we can put a one-pager to help you navigate through how to get to the proper sections of the site so we can get this nailed down. So, let me see if there's something today. I can't tell you how many times me and Skooks have battled it out. So once you get to the Skooks page, this is the opening for the Skooks page. You have to go into the training and then go into courses, and eventually we are a distribution academy. Scroll down, and here we are right here. Okay, so you're going to hit training, you're going to hit the, what did I just say, courses, I think? Yeah, hit courses, then you're going to come down, distribution partners, and then Wolf Brothers. What we're working on, that I thought I did it right, but obviously something happened on their end, is once you hit Wolf Brothers, the classes that I have scheduled will pop up. Obviously, they don't have it fixed yet, but once you see the courses, that's where you'll register. And it's kind of weird when you register, there's different steps that you need to take. The first step is you agree to all their, what I call the lawyer page, blah, blah, blah. The second step is you download the PowerPoint that they give you. The third step is the class, okay? And I have to, as you guys go through this list, I have to approve that you did register, you are part of that class. Once I see that, I can hit the, okay, they attended class, and then there is a test and a survey after that. Like I said, it's confusing right now, but I'm working on getting a sheet put together once we get their end of our site up and running the right way. So Carl's aware of this, our rep is aware of it. I said, I know a lot of guys are due for recertification hours by, I think, May 1st. I'm working on it. God bless you. Use your tongue, man.
So when we're done with
Happen quick.
when we're done with this class, we take a test on this website. What you're saying.
Right. Once we get the site for Wolf Brothers fixed on their end, that's where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So hopefully by today they'll get back to me, let me know where we're at, and then I'll get the information out to you. Now, what I do need from everybody is I have 3 sign-up sheets. I know who the excellent guys are. Obviously, Gorjnik, I think Comfort MD. I don't know if you guys are or not. I don't think you guys are on the list. But anybody who needs state hours, sign this. If you don't need state hours, do not sign this paper. Somebody will, if they all do, because nobody reads. The next one says generic. Everybody sign this sheet. Put your company name and your email address on here, please. And then the third one, if you are not in the Excellence Program and you'd like to be in the Excellence Program, this class counts as part of what you need to do to get into the program, okay? If you don't know you want to be in it, just sign it. So if you decide you want to do it, you have this class completed. Because I cannot go back and say, yeah, they were here. LG doesn't work like that. They're by the book, and sometimes worse than the book. Okay? So if you think you want to be an excellence dealer, sign this. You guys are excellence dealers. Lee's not here. He's supposed to be here. So there's only so much I can fudge. If you don't want to be an excellence dealer, just pass it along. Okay? Again, I know this is a little shocking and quick, but we're working on putting a sheet together so you guys have an easy way to navigate through the Scoop site. There's also other training on this Scoop site. Some of them are billable, but if you guys decide that you want to take a class on there, let me know, and I can issue you a coupon, so when you go to register for a virtual class that LG does from the factories, or whatever one, we can get that free of charge for you. Okay, so if you want to take an online course in the future that is chargeable, and you'll see 100, 300, or free, or whatever, let me know. I'll give you a coupon, I'll okay it, and then the class will be free of charge. All right. So I apologize. I was trying to do something to make it easy on everybody, but LG works a little differently. All right, and I'm still trying to do what I wanted to do, put it that way. All right. So what we're going to do today is, for a lot of you guys, this is going to be some refreshers. I encourage any stories or problems, except from Ben, that you guys have on equipment with flaring. No, I'm kidding. Any issues you guys have, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I just got certified to do this a few months ago. This is the second go-around for me, so it's not one of my most solid classes yet. It will be. So any information I don't have, I will write down. I will get the information for you, okay? Is anybody in here once a month getting our an email from training for like tech tips and stuff? What do you guys think of that stuff? Is it okay? Does it suck? Let me know.
Good.
Okay.
Good stuff. I know most of it's on that that same I forget the name of the website that It's in the American Standard.
DealerNet?
DealerNet, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that I sent for DealerNet was, I think one was equipment selection.
No, American Standard.
Oh, the
techhelp.com or something like
Oh,
that.
fieldtechhelp.com.
Fieldtechhelp.
Yeah, fieldtechhelp.com is awesome.
That's a real good
Got
one.
all kind of training videos on it. It's free to everybody. That's a real good one. Yeah, I make one up, and then the guys, the tech reps make one up too. So sometimes I kind of get a little bit out of the techie bound because the diagnostic website, how to navigate to that. That's actually techie that shows you how you can remotely get to your customer's thermostat or system to take a look at it. That's going to be big in the future. I mean, in the very, very near future. So I saw some cool stuff at the factory. I can't tell you a little bit that I learned, not to be off topic, but oh well. So 2025 is when manufacturers will not be able to make R410 units. R454 is going to be the replacement refrigerant for American Standard. I think Carrier might be going to R454 also. I'm hearing Goodman and Daikin are going to R32. Either way, both of them are a propane-based refrigerant. Finally, I got my download from ESCO Institute, who I work with, and probably next fall, I'm gonna start putting together a class for the transition. Any of you guys coming to, I think it's the Appian evacuation class we're having? I have a gentleman coming also to talk about new refrigerant phase in and phase out. Okay, so it's changing. Nothing I can do about it. It's not my decision. Minimum efficiencies are changing here shortly. I think 2023 with the new DOE test standards. So get ready for more changes. That's all I can say. All right. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't like it either. I remember it was 22 years ago. I was doing a class to go from R22 to R410, and I'm like, 20 years? Yeah, look at now, 22 years gone by like that. So it's ridiculous. All right. So again, this is a review of what a lot of you probably have gone through. I like to use, not to copy from anybody, but it's good information. This catalog is the 2021 catalog. The 2022 catalog is not out in print yet. If you guys need a digital copy, your salesman should have that. We're just waiting for the printers to send us boxes of catalogs. But this isn't totally updated, obviously. It's last year's. The new one will be coming, so they tell me. I was hoping they'd be ready for when I did this. So what I like to do is kind of go through the catalog. I carry this. I have one at my desk. I have one in my backpack that I carry with in case guys ask me questions. It's almost like the quick reference guide for American Standard, okay? It'll give you what families you have in singles, what families you have in multis, and gives you at least an idea of your choices for that application. When you guys are selling, and I don't care who's you're selling, the first question from you to a customer when you're there to do a quote is what?
How much money you got?
How much money you got? How much is your financing allowing me to take from you, right?
Absolutely.
What's the first question? A mini split's a mini split, right? Right? Nate?
No.
What's the first question you ask?
What comfort level? What rooms?
I ask, what's your problems? Why am I here? Why do you want to quote? What issues are you having? Well, the upstairs bedroom's cold, or the basement's cold, or whatever. They want mini splits. Why? Why do a lot of people ask about mini splits?
You want to deal with ductwork and efficiency
Efficiency and ductwork.
and
Okay.
zone, basically.
It zones, absolutely. The next question should be, do you want a ductless system? I don't even like using ductless anymore, because some of them are ducted. I always say inverter system, because it's a true inverter. It's a DC-driven piece of equipment. The motors are DC. The compressor is a three-phase DC compressor, kind of like something like this, okay? I asked them, what's going to be your primary use for this equipment? Where I live, they're huge. We have It's a lot of summer places, there's cottages, mobile homes, there's big houses, bonus rooms, all that. My first question is, what is gonna be your primary function of that unit? What do you mean? Are you gonna use it primarily for heating or for cooling? Well, why is that important? It's important because I have a few different families that, if you're gonna use it for primary heating, probably, they're not in here, probably at 5 or 7 degrees, that system's gonna shut down because it was not manufactured to run at those colder temperatures, okay? I had one, nobody here from Comfort Environmental, because I was at Duke's house. Their shop is literally right around the corner here. And I actually grew up with Duke in Garfield Heights. He's got a place about 3 minutes from my house. So he built a house, his partner built a house right on the bay, gorgeous. So they put high static units in the attic and ducted it. So he called me, it was right around Thanksgiving, and he goes, hey, my buddy next door doesn't have any heat. I go, okay. So we go over there, and I look at the code says it's out of refrigerant. I'm like, all right, well, typical. Well, 2 of the high statics are in the attic. 1 high static is in a closet with an access panel about that big, okay? Luckily, I take that first access panel off. There it was. There was oil right there. So took it off, cut it, reflared it, put it back on. I checked the other fitting. I actually went in the attic after I pressurized the system. I checked that. Everything was tight. And about a month and a half later, he goes, man, that damn thing, same code. I'm like, damn it. So he met me over there, and what we ended up doing was we cut all the handmade flares off. We took those roto-lock fittings with the flare. We used those, we pressed those on. We used those purple Rector seal, please don't hit me, seals, flare seals. Put them on, and that's been, what, 5 months now? So he calls me, it was in February, and I go, God sakes, I go, you were right there. We just pressurized this thing to 550 pounds. He goes, no, we're getting another code. And I go, what's the code? He goes, it's locking out. And it was about 3 to 5 degrees, but it's right on the bay, and the wind chill there is insane in the winter, because we're in the flatland. So I'm like, all right. So I go there, and I should have did it in the first place, but I look at the model number, and I'm like, I already know what the problem is. What was the problem?
It's not a red.
It wasn't a red. Okay? You have, as we go through the book, I'll show you, there are some units that are called red. Okay? Red is the system you want to use when you are using this system as primary heat. Because if you do a non-red system, around -4 degrees, your capacity falls dramatically. With a red, you're not going to get 100% capacity at -4 or -413, but you'll get a pretty good portion of that capacity. Some of the non-red units do not have drain heaters in the outdoor unit. Why is that important? Defrost. When we defrost, we make water. What does water do below 32 degrees? Right. Do we ever get below 32 degrees in Ohio in the winter? Yeah. And then what happens to that ice? It just thickens up, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call, I have no heat, or the unit outside's making a horrendous noise. Yeah, the fan blade's hitting the ice. Okay, it happens all the time. So I told him, I go, dude, you don't want to hear this, but this is not a red system. And he goes, you know, I knew that. He goes, but I didn't think this guy was going to come up on the weekends in the winter. That's his summer house. So he's been up there almost every weekend. So I said, you got to call whoever, you know, I don't know if you made that decision to not go red, maybe, but it's always going to be our fault. You know, thank God he's cool, and I've known him for too long, 50 years. All right, he goes, yeah, we'll get it handled. So you have to make sure that you ask the questions to the customer, what is your function going to be? Now, even if you put a red in at times, you probably, at some point, if we get one of them, like in 2015 and I think 14, those really cold-ass winters when it was -22, you might have to have some kind of backup heat. That's on anybody's equipment, okay? Even though these heat pumps and these heat pumps are very, very efficient, a heat pump is a heat pump. As the outdoor temperature goes down, your capacity is going to go down. okay? The technology's come a long, long way from old heat pumps, conventional heat pumps. Because just like our system here, mini splits have they have the ability to speed up a compressor, speed up an outdoor fan in the heating mode, slow down the indoor fan to a point where we're not going to do any damage to the indoor unit. That allows us to produce that 30, sometimes 40-degree temperature rise out of the heat pump. Okay? You guys who have been in some of my classes, I bring up my diagnostics page at my house. I'm averaging around a 30-degree temperature rise on a 5-degree day in my heat pump. That's huge. These things do the same thing. Okay? They're very, very efficient. Are you guys taking, I know for the most part we don't have any utility rebates anymore because First Energy's too busy fighting in court for ripping off our money. Okay? But tax credits, federal tax credits, they still, I think almost all of them hit the federal tax credit. Okay, so just other tools for you. So in the catalog, it pretty much goes through and explains LG. If you go to page 6, if you see a unit that has thin Q on it, who knows what thin Q is?
I find it.
Any system, huh? Yeah, any system that is marked thin Q means that is Wi-Fi capable. About all of them except the Mega, I believe, are Wi-Fi capable. There are times, and I learned this last week because I had to go on a job with one of the guys out by me. He put a system in, and he bought it. It was one of our, I don't want to say, it was a little bit older stock that we had because, you know, availability issues, and the pricing was right. So he put the unit in, he called me up, he goes, I'm having a hard time getting this thing on Wi-Fi. I'm like, all right. So I said, try this. He goes, no. I go, all right, let me meet you there. So I meet him there. And on that particular model, the system was Wi-Fi capable, but in the box, thank God he didn't throw out, was another little box with a Wi-Fi module. So the module, when you lift the little top up here, this isn't an LG yet, I gotta get that in. Right up here, take a little rubber plug out, you plug the module in, there it is. Now, on the newer ones, it's already built in to the head of the system, if it's got ThinQ capability. Okay, so if you get nothing else from today, at least know what Red and ThinQ is. ThinQ is the app that allows them to control it from their phone. You have to download the Smart ThinQ app by LG, okay? And then you have to tie that equipment into your app, all right? And then Red is a system that will heat to it'll heat to a lower outdoor ambient. A non-Red can either be heating down to like 14 degrees or -4. If you get a Red, most of them are -13 degrees. Okay? So those, if you don't learn anything today, those two terminologies make things a lot easier for you. Okay? I apologize, I hate sitting down when I train, but I couldn't figure out how to advance the screen without doing this. So these are prerequisites, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there was two things, because I was a little bit involved with bringing this line in, and I talked to 15 million other ductless companies. Everybody knows that probably 4 years ago now, Mitsubishi and American Standard and Trane did a joint venture. Nobody owns anybody that I know of, but they partnered together. We at that time decided not to bring in Mitsubishi, not because it's not good equipment, but because our market, distribution-wise, is flooded with Mitsubishi distributors. There's one in particular, I will not name, that has the reputation of dropping their pants on pricing. If anybody knows Wolf Brothers, we try to give you guys a fair price. We try to give you guys top-of-the-line equipment, but we also have to make money or the company wouldn't have been in business for 55 years. So we didn't want to get a pissing match price-wise on our ductless, okay? So we talked to a ton of them, and I actually met the LG guys here. I really hit it off with their regional guy. They gave us a lot of perks to bring the line in, and they were very, very helpful launching this with us. I also liked it because it's made in South Korea, and I'm not getting, you can call me a nationalist, I don't care. But most of the other ones are made in China, okay? South Korea is like the mini United States in Asia, so we got a half a chance there. What's China doing right now? Anybody know what China's doing now? What?
Being outside of preparing for war.
That too. That too.
EVs.
China's locking down. They're locking down areas in China where major manufacturers are.
They're going east and west.
They're screwing us by pretending there's another outbreak, which there may be, I don't know. But it's funny how it's all in manufacturing areas. So we decided that we would rather deal with, number one, LG is a brand name. Number two, South Korea is friendly with the United States. You know, we kind of saw at that time what could happen, which a lot of it is coming true. So that and the market being flooded with Mitsubishi distributors.
Is Mitsubishi made in China then?
I believe you guys would know. I think it is. Huh?
Japanese owned, but made in China though, right?
I have to verify.
Okay.
I have to verify. We did not bring in Mitsubishi because of Korea-China thing. We did it because the market's flooded with distribution. It's almost like you got a dollar store every 5 miles. You know, we didn't want to do that. I want to get in a price war. You know, it's kind of like when you guys go out on a job. If you go on a job, you give them a price, and you're $1,500 more, and they're like, "Well, what can you do? Are you guys going to drop, $14.99?" Not going to do it. You can't stay in business that way. Some guys would do it. Me, I'd rather walk than work for free and take on that liability. Okay, but LG has a pretty wide selection of indoor units. Who's going to be the first one to ask me about the one item that's been promised for years?
I'm gonna ask you where the hell's the technical training book? Where's the troubleshooting service book? There you go.
That's a good one too. But product-wise, why'd you turn red when you asked me that question?
I thought you were.
That's my fault,
I ask
right?
you that every time.
It's my fault. You can blame it on me. I don't care. No, they were working on a coil, so you can use an outdoor LG system with a regular furnace. It is not. That is not dead. The coronavirus didn't help anything. I have not heard updates because I don't talk with management anymore as far as manufacturers. So Carl hasn't heard anything
What's that?
yet.
Is that the thing in the lower left?
No, this is an air handler.
Okay.
An A coil would actually be an A coil that would sit on top of a furnace made by ADP. It would also come with a control package, so you could use an LG control or a 24-volt thermostat control on that. They had originally it didn't come out at first because the Department of Energy and HRI had a hard time with the ratings because it's the first time anybody's ever tried to do something like that. There was so many wide varieties of combinations. So I think what they did is they decided on the outdoor and the coil at a certain CFM, and that's how they got the ratings. Then the coronavirus hit. Now we have availability issues. ADP, I know, has moved their air handler production out of the coil plant to another plant to help beef up production. I know coil-wise, we're in pretty good shape with them. I don't know the status of that A coil yet. Okay. So we'll go through a lot of these indoor units. I want you to get used to the catalog. There's a lot of good information here. It'll save you a phone call to us. Not that we don't want you to call us, but I found out that if you read a little bit, it saves time and saves phone calls. Okay? But if you don't understand something, call us and we'll help you out. All right? is another thing that I hope they change. LG has so many different websites. It's insane. We asked them, why don't you do like American Standard does, and make one website and have different sections for warranties, if you want to register a product, okay? Or if you want submittals or product information or training, make one main website and then put all this stuff embedded in the website. So that has not happened yet, but these are just a couple different websites they have available. There's a couple more. The main one is lghvac.com. That's what I had up there. Okay. There's some marketing things in there. There's some training things, obviously, in there. And also there is what we call My LG HVAC. On My LG HVAC, it's like you already set up an account for the training. Now you got to set up an account for My LG HVAC. They will send you a password to get in, because what they're doing, they're seeing if you work for a distributor or if you are a dealer-based LG dealer. So they don't want any kind of consumers getting into My LG HVAC. What you can get out of My LG HVAC is submittals. You can get technical bulletins. You can get service bulletins. You can get service books. You can get training on there, non-factory training, just like little PowerPoints embedded in there. You get updates on there. I use that pretty often. Okay, so you go.
That's where LATS comes from too.
And LATS, and I'm going to show you LATS in a little bit. Okay, yeah, so that's a really good site to get into, because there's a lot of good information to help you out. So there's another one. It's LG-DFS-warranty. You guys who are excellence dealers, part of being in the excellence program, I think the biggest thing is a regular registered warranty for an LG system is 10 years. If you are an excellence dealer, you will go to that website. It'll say, okay, put your excellence dealer number in there so we can verify. You hit it, it says, okay, you're all good. Register your customer's product. That 10-year warranty parts now goes to 12 years. I can tell you right now, in Findlay schools, we've done 13 schools so far. The only reason they went with us compared to competitors was because of the 12-year warranty. So the first school we did, I said, I will register for you, but you guys have to get into the program because I'm not doing that for every school. So they did go through the program, they got the excellence, and now they have a copy for every, you don't even know the amount of units we put in those schools, 12-year warranty certificates. That's a huge selling tool, being part of that excellence. There's different levels like American Standard has. It all depends on the quantity of equipment that you sell. So right now, if you're in silver, which is the lowest quantity sold a year as a dealer, you can register and get the 12 years, and really that's about it. There's a gold and a platinum, I think. You sell so many units, you get your 12-year. You also earn points, and you can go to their catalog, and they got some nice stuff. So, it's kind of like a point system, and it's like an online shopping. You can accumulate points, stuff like that. And there's some other perks on there too. Okay, they changed the system about 2 years ago, I think it was, from the pro dealer to the excellence program. That was the first training manager transition, so I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with this guy. I think they know that they got to quit changing things and just, they have to enhance the program is really what they need to do. But a lot of guys, they like it because of that 12-year warranty that gives them a little edge against the competition. Okay? If you guys ever want to get in here and you have questions, you can give me a call. Your TMs should know too. Should know.
I'll call you after 2.
Call me whatever. When do you call me and I don't answer? Except if I'm teaching. Should I do this? No. All right. So if you go to LGDFS.com, this is where you can get submittals, engineering, installers, service manuals. Did you write this down?
I got it.
You better write it down. Okay, and it'll give you all product information any kind of marketing, if you're in the Excellence Program or not, and then there is some training on there online. But any formal training you're doing with LG has to go through Scoops, unfortunately.
And they have an app.
Huh?
They have an app.
Scoops does, yeah. Okay, everything's downloadable, so if you want to just put in a partial model number or partial size or whatnot, it'll take you to another page so you can choose the exact unit information that you're looking for, and that's what you get right here. Okay, submittals, engineering, install, owners, all that crap. Make sure you're real conscious, kind of like on American Standard Equipment when you guys are ordering for parts especially. You need to be very aware of the full model number because the difference between a V1 and a V3 or a V5 could be major, okay? Some of the older LG equipment is backward compatible to the new, but there's also some that are not. You should have gotten a list of that from your TM. If you didn't, let me know. I'll dig it up, and it's a nice chart that'll show you new products and which ones are backward compatible to some of the old. So let's say you got a 10-year-old LG that's been in place, the head gets a leak in it. As long as we have the model number of the old unit, we could look on that chart and say, okay, well, it used to be an HYV1, now it's an HYV3. Is that outdoor unit compatible with the new HY3 head? Okay, so there's a chart in there that'll allow us to see if it is. If it's not, then you're going to have to go ahead and change the whole system. A lot of it has to do with the technology. Most of the product line is going to red eventually, so that they all will give you good capacity down to -13. We'll look at the numbers here in a little bit. These are just a snapshot of some submittals. When you get a submittal on a certain unit, it'll give you, if it's a single, it'll give you the indoor and outdoor product information. Let's see if I can zoom that a little bit better. There's a lot of good info on these submittals, not only for architects and engineers, but for you guys. Oof, that's way too big. Hold it. Oh, let me put it in that, please. All right. So this, for instance, will be a 90 single zone system. It gives you SEER rating, performance, HSPF, all that good stuff. Voltages. The MOP, that is actually going to be your maximum operating protection. So that'll be your max fuse size, MOP. Okay. So this 9,000, you need a 15 amp 2-pole to protect that. It'll give you all your amps, compressor fans, all that stuff, kilowatt usage. It also gives you what line sizes that you need. Minimum piping is very important. Don't think that, okay, if the minimum piping from the indoor head to the outdoor unit, most of them, not all of them, are 9.8 feet, figure 10 feet, and you only have 7 feet. You cannot take refrigerant out of the system to make up for that shorter line set. You can't do it. They're critically charged units, okay? If you have to move the unit over 3 feet to make that minimum of 10 feet, it's unfortunate, but you have to do it. You cannot remove refrigerant because you have a shorter line set than 10. And then on the opposite, if it says 65 feet max, don't go 67 feet because it's not going to work. And I hear guys, oh, it'll work. I hear it all the time with venting. Well, 2 inch, it says up to 80 feet, and I got 81. I should be okay. All right, well, what if we get a winter of 2014, 2015? It's minus 22 degrees outside. What's the furnace doing in minus 22 degrees?
Running all the time.
running all the time. What's it producing all the time on a high efficiency furnace?
Condensation.
Condensation. Where does condensation sit? In the vent pipe. Is that 2-inch pipe a 2-inch pipe now? No, it's 1.5 inches. So not only are you over for the 2-inch, that 2-inch isn't even a 2-inch anymore. It's 1.5 inches. So I go by, if I have a maximum pipe length or a maximum vent length, if I'm within 10% of that length, I'm going to go to the next size, okay? On these, you cannot go to the next size. There is no piping program, so if I have to go 70 feet, you can't go up to 3/8 and 1/2 inch. It doesn't work on mini splits. You're going to have to go to another unit that has the capability of going to a longer line set, okay? American Standard, I got a piping program. You tell me, hey, I'm 200 feet this way, I got so much rise, so many elbows. I have a piping program. It'll allow us to increase pipe sizes. You don't do that with this technology, okay? Everything's critical charge. If you can't move that outdoor unit within range of that indoor unit, you know, right before the maximum allowable pipe run, you're going to have to pick another unit. And that's, you know, it's not our call, that's engineering's call. And guys do it all the time. Guys go with a non-red on a primary heating unit, and it's always a problem, and guess whose problem it is? It's our problem, right? Because you guys aren't the professionals or anything, you know? You guys are smart, at least you come to training. Some of the guys don't come to training, and I get the call log, and, oh, look at that. How many times they called? Did they ever go to training? No? Man, I went over that subject about 10 times this fall. But they wonder why the prices go up. We got cooling ranges here. Oh, one thing other on the piping. Piping length, no additional refrigerant. So this means I could use 1/4 3/8 with a minimum of 6.5 feet on this particular unit. But if I go over 41 feet, now I have to add what we call a trim charge. The trim charge is going to be the amount of refrigerant that I need to add because of the length. This is an old one, HYV1. So I can run it up to 41 feet. After 41 feet, let's just say I'm going to 60 feet, okay? So I have to take 60 minus 41 because the unit only comes charged enough with 41 feet. So I got to make up for that 19 feet. In this case, I have to take 19 times 0.22, which is 0.22 ounces per foot. That'll give me, I don't know, around 4 ounces or whatever the hell that number is. You cannot charge these systems with superheat and subcool. Okay? When you charge these systems, you need to have a scale. You have to weigh it in. I taught in Toledo 2 weeks ago. We have a new tech rep there, Josh. He's a little hot shot. He's going to be good. He sits in on every class. He goes, hey, man, I got to leave. I'm sorry, I got to go meet Ed on a job. So he went from Toledo to Marblehead, which is my hood. Ed went from Medina to Marblehead at $4 a gallon. I go, did you guys, what's the problem? It was an LG, 2 years old. Oh, it's doing some funky stuff. Okay. What's the #1 cause of a service call on a ductless?
User error.
Huh?
User error.
User error?
Undercharge.
I'd say it.
Got a leak. Got a leak.
That's what I mean by user error.
Right.
Improper installation.
So me, not that I have any, experience in tech support at $4 a gallon, what do you think I would have asked those guys before I had 2 guys converge?
You got refrigerant, you boil
Have
it
you-
out, and you flat fit.
Have you checked your charge?
Oh my God.
Have you checked your charge?
You say Ed was one of these people?
Yeah.
He checked the charge. That's his first thing he tells me every time. Pull the charge and weigh.
Right? Yeah. Well, guess what? The dealer said, yeah. Not that you guys lie or anything. You never lie to us, right? That's why I always ask the same question 3 different ways before I go anywhere. Because one of those answers are going to be the truth. So they said they checked the charge. Ed goes out there. Josh goes out there. Short. They recovered refrigerant. They weighed it. Not even close. Okay, guys, get the nitrogen. We don't have nitrogen. He was smart enough to have nitrogen. okay? They pressurized it up, they found the leak, luckily it was a flare. Redid the flares, pressure check again, evacuation, waved the charge in, and knock on wood, voila. Okay? Just because you guys don't want to do something, if you're calling me to come on a job, I'm going to ask you so many questions, I'm going to be for sure that you need our help. I'm not going out there to charge and fix leaks for you guys. And those guys shouldn't either. Okay? Because if they're out on those little, what I call stupid jobs, they're not on the phone helping you guys on a real job. Okay? So as a contractor, and I can say this, I never owned my own business, but I work for plenty of people, you have responsibility in the field. You have a responsibility to, number one, before you install this stuff, what should you do, Nate?
Read the manual.
What should you do at the house? Heat loss, heat gain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Heat loss, heat gain. Kind of like you should be doing here, not walk in the basement and go, oh yeah, 80,000, 3 ton, I'll get you a price tomorrow. What's the other reason you should do heat loss, heat gain now, especially now?
CYA.
Hmm?
CYA.
Well, cover your ass for sure. How about availability issues? You guys look at how many 80,000 BTU high efficient 2-stage 90s we got?
Got one in yesterday.
Did you? You better sock it up, boy.
Already did.
There's a lot of hoarding going on out there.
Already did. Made that text last night at 9 o'clock.
So what if you took an extra half hour, did an actual heat loss, heat gain on the house like I did on my house, and I found that 80,000 3.5 tons were too big for my house. My house called for a 60,000 and 2.5 ton. And guess what we have quite a few furnaces of?
Not those.
They're not? They're
No.
out? They're gone? Wow, you guys sucked those up quick. We did have 60s and a bunch of 40s. 40s kind of pushing it, but. So I always, number one, cover your ass. Number two, I want to pick the right equipment for that application. And then availability. I Frankenstein units together for guys all the time. Besides training and prepping for all this stuff, I help guys put systems. I helped you how many times with that? If you don't have this, what can we do? I want to have a similar system. Let's see what we got. Let's look at the product data. Let's match it up the right way. Do we have the capacity? Yep, we're good. Sweet. We're there. Okay? This is a, I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, and this isn't the company's opinion, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, it's dog eat dog out there. You guys got to start using this a lot more than these. And some of you guys have been doing it. That's great. You got to differentiate yourself the way you do business, because moving into the future, it's going to be even worse. Okay, we got to kind of get rid of the riffraff, because they give all of us a bad name. All right, max elevation. You do not put traps on any of these units. Never trap a unit. Don't loop it. Nate, what if you got a, not that they sell pre-charged line sets online anymore for the Chico ductless systems, right? And they give you a pre-charged, and it's a 30-foot line set, and you only got 12 foot of run. What do you do with the extra? You coil it up. Absolutely. You take that line and just coil it up, or coil it up underneath the pad or the unit, right? Do we do that?
No.
Why not?
All your oil's gonna sit there.
It's a big oil trap. Like, I'm going through compressors. Yeah, you're going through compressors because the oil's not in the compressor. The oil's in the line set. It's somewhere in here. How many of you guys been on jobs that you gave a quote and customer looks on the line and says, I can buy it cheaper?
All the time.
What do you tell them?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead. I'm not putting it in. I'm not putting it in. Number one, can you buy LG online? You can. Okay? The problem is, if they have, number one, if they don't have a certified licensed contractor install it, if they have a problem, the warranty is none. The warranty online is 1 year. And if you call me as an LG dealer after you cheaped out, bought it online, had some hack put it in, and you need parts, I'm not looking for you. And LG won't allow us to supply a warranty part for online sales. So you might be able to get it cheaper, Mrs. Customer, but if, God forbid, you have a problem, which if hackadoodle-doo here put it in, you're probably going to have a problem. Local distributors are not going to cover those warranties. You have, number one, a better warranty with me. You get a professional job. Are you going to pay more? Yes. But you should have the confidence and the lovey-dovey feeling inside that you're not going to have any problems with this system. And if you do have a problem, I have a local distributor that is more than willing to help us get parts if we need under a warranty for 12 years as an excellence program. To me, as a consumer, and I think I'm way different than a lot of people, I'll pay more for that kind of confidence and warranty and support. There's other people, no, cheap, cheap, cheap. People are what they are, okay? All right. Being frugal with your money's good in a way, but you gotta be smart. Sometimes you just gotta pay. Okay, this is just an example of a multi-split submittal. Again, depending on what's split, red or not red, tonnage, all that will depend on how many heads that outdoor unit is capable of. When we get into the catalog, I'll show you guys what you need mixing boxes for, what you don't need mixing boxes for. But I just want to show an example of a multi-submittal. So let me see where I'm at, and we'll get ready to take a break here in a second. This probably would be a good time to take a break. Why don't we take 5 or 7? Huh? Zoning's one of them for sure. If we have a house we can't run ductwork in, okay? You got a little cottage, you got no heat or cool forever except a little wood burner. There's no options to run ductwork because everything's wide open floor plan. Boom, stick a head in the right location, or 2 or 3. Now we can zone it. We can break up houses, okay? I love zoning. I don't care if it's, conventional system zoning or ductless, because what are we going to start, hopefully, if it gets warm here? What are we going to start hearing in the summer on houses?
It's hot upstairs.
It's hot upstairs. Second floor is hot. Well, we can fix that. We got 2 ways. We can go conventional zoning, or we can go ductless, okay? Then they get the bill. They go, well,
It's fine.
you said that you wanted to be as comfortable up here as you are here. We have several options we can give you. You'll have your separate control of each zone, very efficient. And if we do put an inverter system in a house, just because it says 2 ton doesn't necessarily mean it's a 2 ton. Because it's very unlikely, let's just say I put 3 different zones in here. It's very unlikely, except for startup probably, that all 3 of these zones are going to be calling for 100% capacity all the time. So what does that mean? That means that I can kind of cheat that 2 ton into being kind of a wannabe 2.5 ton. Another thing too, what is great about these books, because it helped me on the job last year, I needed 32,000 whatever for cooling. Heating, it wasn't primary, but it was a nice shoulder season kind of thing. I looked at our stock. We didn't have a 3 ton. So I went to the book and I looked here. I'll show you exactly what I did. Go to page 13. Let's compare the LSN 303 versus the LSN 363. So we look at rated cooling capacity. The 30 is 30, the 363 is 33, right? Look at the cooling capacity. What do you see there?
Same.
Right. Is the 303 more expensive than the 363?
No.
No. So, in my case, I needed cooling primarily didn't have a 363, had a 303. So before I said, oh crap, what am I going to do now? I actually did read, and I went through these specs. And if you go down the line on these specs, it's pretty damn close. Luckily for what I needed on the cooling side, it was exact. So now we had the unit available that I needed. That unit hit the specs that I needed, and it was cheaper. So don't always think that a 1.5 tons is a 1.5 tons or a 2 tons a 2 ton. Read the specs, see what the capability of that system is. Okay? That's how you outsmart the competition, because guys who don't know how to use this information, they're going to say, well, you're going to have to wait 6 months for a unit, so you lost a sale, you probably lost a customer because you didn't take that little extra step and read at the specs. I do it all the time on American Standard for either SEER ratings or capacities. I really want to go with this outdoor unit, so I play with the coil and the furnace matchup. Right here. We don't have the versatility on this stuff like we do with American Standard, because I got to have one outdoor unit with 3,000 different combinations. But now with this, even though I have to use that outdoor unit with this indoor unit, I can at least look at the sizes and say, okay, yeah, I know I should go with this, but let me look at the specs. Oh crap, these things are damn near the same. Plus you save some money, and you do give all that savings to the customer? Hell no, you don't give it to them. Where does that money go? Right here. Making a profit is not a sin. Okay? So we have options here. So, you have a house like this. We can start cutting that house up now. They want comfort. How many of you guys have customers that shut their vents off in different rooms because grandma only has the family there for Thanksgiving and Christmas? Is that a good thing when people shut their vents off? Why not? Why not? They're saving money.
Restricts airflow.
Huh?
It restricts airflow.
Mm-hmm. That's one. What else? What else does that do when they shut those registers off?
Kills your efficiency.
Kills your efficiency. Nate, do you do heat loss, heat gain?
Yeah.
What's the envelope?
It's the entire house. It's the whole building.
Okay. When you do a heat loss, heat gain, what we have to do is we have to see the square footage of the surface that's being affected by the outdoors, correct? So this would be the envelope. So let's say, I love this thing. We got a 2-story house, right? Kitchen, whatever. Now grandma shuts the vents off to here. She shuts the vents off to here. Nobody's up there. Where's the envelope now? It's right here. Because by shutting this off, she just made that outdoor walls for the most part, right? Are you going to get any radiation from cold air from the second floor to here? Absolutely you are. Radiation works both ways. Why do you want to do that? You don't. What does this cause too?
It's oversizing your
Sweet. Love it. Now you're oversized. Okay? Now I can't get the airflow through. Now I'm flooding my compressor in the summer. Now I'm overheating my heat exchanger in the winter. Why does Mrs. Jones go through 2 compressors and 3 heat exchangers in 6 years? Okay? With the ductless, you could do that with the press of a remote. Or, if you got the ThinQ app, right here. All your controls here. Okay, you want to turn it down a little bit? Go ahead. All right? These units, just like when I teach this unit, and this is the most important part about any of this stuff, we have to learn how to educate our customers. We have to educate our customers. Number one, it does 2 things. It explains new products, new technology. Inverter technology really isn't that new. I mean, mini splits have been around forever. How many of you guys have taken out an old mini split, indoor units, 6 feet wide, 500 pounds, and it's with a third-party condenser? That's how they used to be. Then they got smart in Asia, and they said, hey, wait a minute, Let's get a little more efficient. Let's make a DC system that can modulate for our capacity needs. That's what we're doing, okay? Is it good to oversize an inverter heat pump sometimes to a point? Absolutely. I did. I needed 2.5 at home. We don't make half-ton increments, so I put a 3 in. Works great in the wintertime so far. I'm on month number 6 months now. And I just, most of the time I look at that stat with my little RPM gauge, my little tack, 32%, 40%, very rarely am I above 50. But in the summertime, now I don't need all that capacity. She'll slow down. It'll run way, way longer, which is awesome because I'm by the water. I need dehumidification control. This stuff will do the same thing. These systems are made to run a lot. You tell a customer that, if you have not educated them on the technology, they're going to say, oh my God, you're charging me double of what a conventional system is and it's going to run all the time. My electric bill's going to be crazy. No, it's not. Because I can slow it down, make it run longer at less kilowatt usage because it's DC control. One of my apprentices, tomorrow's the last, what is today? Wednesday? Friday's the last day. I was so proud of him. He came up to me and he goes, you know, I thought a lot about what you said. And I was talking to them about in the future if they decide to go to sales and the technology of the equipment now. He said, I like your idea of telling a customer that, listen, the upfront cost is going to be way more than a normal system, but the utility usage and the payback of the equipment is going to be way, way sooner that you could put that money in your pocket. I'm like, you get it. Young kid, and he got it. I'm like, exactly. I go, and for you young guys who are going to be in this business a while, you got to get that aptitude. What do we hear about energy now?
It's going up,
Up, up, up, up. Do you want to buy a single stage furnace and a single stage heat pump? Hell no. Hell no. I don't anyway. Because it's not going to give me the comfort I want, and it's not going to give me the utility cost that I want. It's going to be way, way more than I want. Okay? So being able to use this inverter system in a house for zoning is really going to help out. Now, Mrs. Jones, if you want it cooler upstairs, you have your own control. Boom, hit the button and make it as cool as you want up there now. Okay? We have more control of the house. We have more control of temperature, humidity, indoor air quality. Does iWave make a ionizer? Okay. You guys sell a lot of those with the indoor? I would try. I would put it as an accessory on every quote. Every quote. If you don't ask your customer, and with the Rona, always give them options. When I made my quotes for the last contractor I worked for, I had a generic template. I already had the accessories right here. It's like AccuClean at that time, humidifier, Ecobee, whatever. I always had that. Now, man, there's so much stuff. It's killer right there. Indoor air quality. Listen, sometimes, depending on the area, on these minis, you get what you call, anybody run into dirty sock syndrome on a mini ever? Have you? That will help that. Because that ionizing iWave or whatever you guys use will help disinfect that coil. Because think about it, if this unit's running at a very minimum capacity a lot of times, what are we doing on that coil? A lot of dehumidification, okay? It's dark. It's very high humidity level because we're bringing out that water. It's a perfect breeding place for mold and algae. So if you have a device that you can put there to help combat that, now you don't have to get the big baggie and all that crap. You take the head, plastic off, and you shoot the coil and all that. You're helping prevent that. Okay? Okay. Again, and I'm not getting deep into this, but the big thing is, look at what they have here. Okay? They have done a heat load per zone, so now we can pick out our outdoor unit, and we can pick out the proper indoor unit, be it a high wall, a console, an air handler, or a cassette, whatever. Okay? We need to have that heat loss, heat gain. And that is to protect you too. Okay? Worst thing, I pray to God. When was the last time we had a 100-degree day in Ohio? 88, maybe? Some of you guys weren't even born.
Ever?
Huh?
Ever?
Let's have one. Why not? We're due. The arthritis is starting to go away. This is like Dick Goddard right here. I swear to God. Rest your soul, Dick Goddard. I love that guy. It's going to be hot this summer. Probably going to be a little wet at first, but then it's going to get hot for sure. We got to make sure that we do our calculations so we have enough capacity to make sure we get that humidity and that temperature out at a good ratio, okay? So this is just showing you different examples of the zones. You know, we got a low static here, high static here. I hate that they call these units ducted. I hate it. The high static unit, you can duct to a point. In the specs, it will show you what the CFM is and what the maximum static is. You have to actually design that ductwork to those specs, or you're going to have issues. These low static units here, these low static units basically, anybody ever go into a hotel room and you just see right above the soffit there, you see one big register? That's what that low static's for. Do not run major ductwork off of that low static unit. It's basically there to put a small plenum and a register on it, and that's it. Okay? You have to know the uses for the different type of indoor units. Don't over-engineer and don't guesstimate. If you're not sure, you can call us and we'll help walk you through that. All right. This is the big one. What is this, Nate? LATs. What does it LATs do?
Make sure you're designing and everything.
Do you use this on singles or multis?
You can use it on both. It's not very good on singles, but multis, it's
Yeah,
excellent.
singles is pretty easy. It's right here, boom, boom. But if you're putting a multi together, LATs is a program, when you get into My LG HVAC, that will allow you to design a system. Not only will it allow you to design a system, there is a validation check that will walk you through your design to see if everything matches properly, if your piping is within spec. If you have to add a trim charge to the factory charge, it'll tell you exactly what you need. And it's nice to print this out to give, with your quote to your customer, to give them a full submittal, I guess, basically is what it is. So they can check out all the specs. So you can put all your information in there. You can pick out what area. You can edit your design conditions here.
Switch that to 95.
Huh?
I always switch that to 95.
That's entirely up. So you're, this system, so you're putting fudge in there. That's fine. And on a conventional system, I'd have an issue with that because that would probably have you oversize most of, if not all, your jobs. But why don't I mind with this stuff? Because I'm an inverter. I can ramp up and down. In these specs here, it'll show you that 303, you know, I can go down to as low as 3,000 BTUs. It's a window unit now. But I could also go up to 34,000. I'm almost at 3 ton. I go from a window unit to 3 ton and anywhere in between. Okay? You can put customer name, your name to make it all pretty for the final report. Then we want to go ahead and start picking out equipment. I'm just going to go to a multi-F. You can name the system if you have multiple systems on that job. I always use simulation mode for both. Even though the customer says, yeah, I'm going to use this for primarily cooling, I like doing both just to kind of see, so I can let them know, hey, I know you're getting this for cooling mainly, but you know what, in the spring and the fall when you get them cooler mornings, this system will help heat your house before you got to kick that big ass boiler on or that 140,000 BTU furnace. Would you rather run that and temper the air or get that big monster up and running already? You know, anything you can information-wise give them to let them know you're trying to not only make them comfortable but save them money, it's all a bonus. Okay. Once you use this system a couple times, it really is kind of simple. There are some details I haven't used in a while and I'm still learning, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. So the multi-F, and when we get into the catalog, I'll kind of show you the difference between the multi-F and the other multi-systems. You just click on that, and we're going to pick out a system. Now, one thing I have learned, because I'm a nomenclature freak, is if you see HV here or CHV, those are non-red. If you see HHV, I always high heat. That's the only way I remember that stuff. HHVs are red, and HV and a CHV is non-red. You'll have to look at the specs at what the heating capacities are and how low and what that capacity is as far as outdoor temperatures. Any red system is going to be close to full capacity at minus 13 degrees, but you have to look at the specs. So I'm just going to pick out a red for now. So now we picked out our outdoor unit. Now you just pick out whatever indoor unit you want to use. So let's just say, I don't know, zone 1. I'm going to go to a mirror. I can pick out what size I want. It'll give you what your options are as far as that family. Throw a cassette in there. You can also change your elevation, which I didn't do on the first one. So we're going to go back on it. And here. And just for shits and giggles, we'll do one more time. Okay, so once you pick out your outdoor unit, you pick out, per your calculations, pick out your indoor unit. Now what you want to do is you want to put the line sets. You have to be as close as possible to the lengths of the line set. It's very important because sometimes, especially when we get into mixing boxes and Ys and all that, you may think on an install that if I move a line set an extra 10 feet, that it may not do something. It very well may change everything. Anybody, Kevin, you've probably done mini VRFs. You guys, I know, used to when Mike was there. When we get into mini VRFs, which is a kind of a whole nother ball game, you could move a line set 1 foot, it might throw the whole system off. Trim charge, line sizes, capacities, all that stuff. So by using LATs, you got to let your installers know, hey man, if you got to make a change as far as piping because the plumber put his stack right there, or electrician, or those guys put stuff where all they had to do was move it 1 foot. Because it's kind of easy to move a piece of Romex than it is, duct work or whatever, refrigerant lines. You got to let those guys know, and then you're going to have to go back to LATs and you're going to have to edit it. Okay? So all you have to do is double click on your line length for that run, change it, I don't know, 35 feet. Do your other one. Hit OK. So now, if you think you're done, you can hit System Check, and it's going to check everything. So now I got an alert. Indoor unit combination is not supported by this outdoor unit. If you look down here, this combination ratio, what that basically is saying is that the indoor units that I've chosen for that outdoor unit has too much capacity for that unit to handle. So I'm 170% above capacity, all right? I will say, and tell me if you've seen different, usually when I pick out indoor units, I can go up to about 130% above what that system should do and be okay. Again, that's because more than likely these 4 units will hardly ever, if ever, be calling for 100% capacity on every zone. Okay? So now what this is telling me is I got to do one of two things. If I cannot change the sizes of the indoor unit, I got to go to a bigger outdoor unit. So let's do that first.
Does the 10 feet refer to just like if the condenser's on the ground floor, then just it's in the ceiling of the same floor, or actually on the floor above? You know.
When I change that above and below, I'm saying that the indoor units are above the outdoor unit. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, like, so if I'm on the base floor, is that 10 feet saying it's still on the base floor but in the ceiling of the base floor? Is that safe to say? When you say it's 10 feet away.
You're saying when I edit this stuff right here?
Like a house typically has like a 8-foot ceiling, so.
Yeah.
But are you just rounding up to 10 just for convenience, or is it actually on the second floor or something?
He's talking about when you go to bring up the equipment, so let's say you go to change the LAN 120.
It says 10 feet in
All right, let
pink.
me get there because I'm.
The 10 feet's in pink, yeah.
Yeah. See it right there above 10
Yeah.
feet?
Yeah, that's saying what the 10 feet is that's 10 foot of above.
So it's on the first floor. It's on the
That's
base
on
floor.
the second floor.
That's on the second
Doesn't matter
floor?
where it's at, it's 10 feet above the condenser. That's
So,
what he's saying.
so I understand it's 10 feet above the condenser, but in the real world, does that mean it's in the ceiling of the
If
first?
it's a 12-foot wall, that's
Okay.
10 feet above the.
That's 10 feet.
I think you need to measure it, is what it's.
You have to.
Asking you
You
to
have to measure
it.
it. You have to physically, you can't guesstimate, like on a house, okay, from the furnace to the condenser, it's around 30 feet. I get away with 35-foot line set. You have to physically measure this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because these units are critical charge, and, you know, you might put 35 foot here, your guy decides he knows better, or certain conditions on the job change to where he's gotta change it. He's gotta let you know that, because you're gonna have to go back into their report for that customer and change this and see, you just saw that my combination right now failed. So I did something wrong. And that's the beauty of this program. Before you guys go in there, put this stuff in, you have a program to say, okay, here's what I want to do. I'm going to list all this stuff. If it's not a good fit, it's going to tell you before you go out on the job and try to engineer it yourself.
You don't want to change that 10 feet right there though, right? Because like if I were to put in like the line set length right there from the outdoor unit to the indoor unit right there, it always comes up and says that you can't do that.
I don't. The only thing I change.
You're just doing it on the outdoor.
Yeah, the only thing I do here is I pick the unit and I change if the indoor
Yeah.
unit's above or below the outdoor. And when I edit the line sets, I do it right here, because I've gotten that.
Yeah, it comes up with an error every
Yeah,
time.
I've gotten that too. All right, so now let's go to another indoor or outdoor. See what we got available here. Okay, so I do have a quote-unquote 3-ton. The problem with that is what?
No red.
It's not a red. So now I got to go to the Multi-F Max family, okay? Which means when I get to that chart here, the Multi-F basically is a multi-head family. You do not need mixing boxes with that family. Go to page 27. All right, page 27. You got a chart there. On the top part of the chart are the multi-Fs. Those are what we call home run units. Okay? The home run unit is basically going to show you how many heads that outdoor unit can have attached to it and the size. So the 18,000, I could put 2 indoor units on that system. Okay, the 243, blah, 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 blah. Now if you go to the bottom section, or the bottom half of that page, those are the multi-F maxes. Okay? You see there, we have an extended amount of heads per that outdoor unit. The problem is, on the multi-F, I home run all the line sets right at the outdoor unit on individual piping combinations there. With the multi-F max, you have to use a mixing box. So that means I have an outdoor unit, I have one line set that I can go into the house with, go to the box, and distribute from the box to the heads or to the indoor units. But you need to have a box on those. Okay? So in this case, I'm trying to stay away from that. Obviously, there's cost to that. So again, you know, the one job I did a load for the guy, and he really wanted inverter technology, and I kept playing and playing with the numbers here. I had to go to the max, and even with the max, unfortunately, in that case, I couldn't hit the heat load for that house. So he ended up going with an American Standard. Sometimes it just isn't going to work. And if you want to take the chance, that's on you guys. I prefer you not do that because that's a loser-loser. That's going to cost you time, money, and maybe a whole new system for that customer. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Sometimes you got to know when to say when. Sometimes saying no is more positive than getting the job, and then later down the line you got problems. So the beauty of this system here is that I've done my heat loss, heat gain. I could see that this head right here is going to give me a little bit over a ton of cooling, and it's going to give me 6,500 BTUs of heating. Now, is that going to be suffice for that room? If it is, cool. Okay, and so on and so on. But overall, what I did choose here, the indoor capacity is way, way too much for what this particular unit can handle. Okay, so in this case, let me say I talked to Mrs. Jones, hey, put some insulation in, blah, blah, blah. So now that allows me to reduce, which I know isn't realistic, but just for example's sake, I'm going to go ahead and I'll bump down the size on a couple of these. Line sets stay the same. And this is where I'm going to look at my spec book too. All right, so I'm at 133. Do you think it's going to make it or not? I think it'll make it. So I'll do another validation check. System was successful. Okay, Mrs. Jones, I know you had to bite the bullet a little bit on getting that insulation, but that saved you way more money than me having to bump up to a multi-F max system, which needs more components and more cost to it. So now I check all my loads. Are these loads going to satisfy those individual zones? Yes, they are. Okay, cool. I'm good. Okay? So I said 133. I try, when guys ask me to help, I try to keep my ratio right around, I try not to go more than 120% because we are in Ohio and I'm worried, especially on a primary heating system, I try not to go above 120, just so I like a little fudge, okay, but I don't want to grossly oversize, yeah.
Oh, I was about to ask what those numbers are. It's right there. I see it.
Okay. There's also a section in here, you can pick accessories if you wanted to go with wired controls. Some of these products you need wired controls, some come with remotes, okay?
Your refrigerant's right there too.
The what?
It tells you your refrigerant right there. I don't know if you wanted to go with that up top by your unit.
Okay, thank you for that, yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously with the line set lengths that I've given in total here, obviously the factory charge will not be able to suffice that system. So it says my additional refrigerant charge is going to be 9/100ths of a pound of refrigerant. So you just Google it and go, how many ounces is that? That's going to be your trim charge right there. When you have to add extra refrigerant charge, and even with our stuff too, don't think in pounds, you got to think in ounces. It doesn't take a lot of refrigerant to suffice that trim charge for this system, for those systems. You know, we don't want you dumping in 5, 10 pounds. You don't need that. It's actually in ounces, and that's why you got to have a good scale so you can measure that stuff. Because these are critical charges. Okay? Questions on that? Shut up and keep talking. If you guys, I encourage you to use this system. If you guys have a hard time, you can call me, I'll walk you through it. Call your TM, they should know how to do it. Inside people, 50-50 shot, to be honest with you. But if you got, if you got questions, you can give me a call. If I'm not training or on the road, I'll be more than happy to help you out. Okay, so it allows us to build that system, check our loads, okay? It will give us trip charges. It'll actually tell us if our combination is going to be suffice to do the job. Is it allowed capacity-wise and all that? This is a protection or protectant for you guys, okay? Please do not go out there and guesstimate, oh, I'm going to put this multi-system in and just go boom, boom, and just pick it out of the air. Please use the LATs, because the first thing, if you have a problem that the factory's going to ask, is I want a copy of the LATs. If it's not there, you're out of luck, pal, for real. We have very limited control of what happens on the LG side, less than we do with American Standard. We got a little fudge here or there sometimes. LG, not a lot of fudge there. All right. Talk about tools. I want it back. What is that? You're sharp as a bowling ball, aren't you? What is it? What kind of screwdriver? It's called a JIS, Japanese Industrial Screw. You guys are lucky. I stole these out of Carl's office. I'm going to get yelled at, but I don't care. I'd rather you guys have them than sitting in an office.
Thank you.
Everybody got one, or am I short?
Short.
Here, I got one. If you were here on time, I wouldn't have forgotten you.
No, I got one.
Now you got two, don't you?
No.
No, you work. I got two. All right. When we put these systems in, these are just some of the tools that we need. The screwdriver I just gave you so graciously cost me thousands of dollars. It's known as a JIS Phillips screwdriver, Japanese Industrial Screw. How many of you guys use the regular number 2 Phillips when you're making your connections on the system and you strip the screw?
Never.
Never?
Never.
You've never kinked a line set either, have you? Right? All right. I'll have a picture a little bit later. Basically, a JIS screw, I want to say it's kind of like a metric screw, but it's got a little dimple in it. These screwdrivers are a little bit flatter than a normal number 2, so it will not strip those screws. Okay? Usually you can get away kind of with a number 2 Phillips, but when you go to tighten that thing up, because it's not conformed to that screw configuration, you're going to strip that screw out. So those are JIS Phillips. If you don't want them, give them back to me, because I know a lot of guys that want them. Okay? Throw those in your mini split bag if you have one. Speaking of mini split bags, these are just some of the other things. Pipe cutter and reamer. Make sure you have a reamer, because we're going to be flaring. Okay? We all done it. Cut the pipe. We're in a hurry. We got little snots on the cut. Blade's a little dull. Screw it. We'll just flare it. That's where you get your leaks from. Make sure after you cut, you ream it out. A little bit of terry cloth or whatever. Give it a little sand. Clean all the edges, the scratches. Make sure, before you go to flare, what should you do?
Make sure you have the nut on.
Make sure you got the nut on. How many guys have flared something and forgot to put the nut on?
I think I'm 100%.
You're 100%? Haven't done that?
No, I do that every time. I have to cut
Oh,
it,
at least
put
you're
the nut on.
consistent. That's good. All right, make sure you got a sharp blade on your cutter. Make sure you got a reamer. Clean it out. It takes a whole 3 seconds more. Give it a little swipe with some terry cloth or whatever. Make sure that the flaring tool, I don't care if you got a hand tool, I don't care if you have the spin bit, I don't care if you got the NAVAC. Make sure that that tool is orbitable, which means it doesn't go in a perfect circle. It's kind of an oblong, and it does that for a reason. So when you're locking down on that flare tool, it evenly distributes the pressure. Because if I go straight down like the old 60-degree ones we used to use in refrigeration, it has a very good chance of cracking that fitting. Okay. Spin bit is a great concept. I just gave my kit away to one of the kids. I couldn't get it. Number one, make sure you wear gloves. I saw them doing it here last week. I laughed my ass off because the kid's holding the pipe and you didn't have any gloves on. Guess what he said? Ouch. I go, hey, dumbass, that's hot. You got friction there. Friction is heat. So if you have it mastered, boom. You got to be nice and straight. Bam, bam. Navac, I'm hoping Jerry gets me this kit, is coming out with a mini split kit that has a battery-operated flare tool that is really nice. It's got a core removal tool. It's got a torque wrench somewhere here. Here we go. How many guys here have a torque set? How many guys don't have a torque set? You putting them in there?
No.
You don't put them in? You don't? You lie? You don't have a torque set?
No,
You guys do a ton of ductless.
not me.
Who does in your company? You got a torque set?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, not him. I like you, man. Boy back. You're my boy, Blue. Oh, I saw that movie the other day. I laughed my ass off. All right. Got to have some good wrenches. Use backup wrenches. A good cutter, good reamer. I need an orbiting flare tool. You got to have a torque set. Especially, and I can tell you I've done it, I don't know myself, even with the torque, because I was in a hurry, I didn't flare it correctly. I went to torque it down, and what happened to that quarter-inch piece of tubing? Snap. Because I was in a hurry. Every time I'm in a hurry, I end up taking more time. If I just would have went, breathe, take your time, make the connection the right way, and I don't have to do it 3 times. Multimeter and amp clamp, one of the handouts I gave you is a chart for, these units have a ton of sensors. They have a coil sensor, outdoor rear temperature sensor, discharge line sensor, suction sensor. Those charts that I gave you will give you the resistances and or the DC volt readings. When do you use the resistance check? Huh? When the power's off. Okay? If you want to check it in live action, just like any of you guys who have come to my furnace or heat pump classes or rooftop classes, I can check it with resistance with no power, or I can check it live with DC voltage as is live, which is what I like to do. Okay? If you get a code, read the code, take some measurements. The tech support, you guys are not supposed to call LG directly. You will probably get yelled at. Call Ed, Josh, or Tim in Columbus. They are the first line of defense. If they get stuck and they can't help figure out what's happening, just like with American Standard, we will call the factory and they will assist us. Okay? There's no direct line to the factory. If that, and it's even, and I can say it because I did that job for 10 years, if we gave you the line to American Factories after sales support, we would never get support for what we really need on those real problem jobs. And that's why factories don't allow, for the most part, some do, some don't. They don't allow contractors to call into the factory. Not that they don't love you or that they don't want to hear from you, but you guys, and I'm not saying you guys, but the field in general would just pack the phone lines and we wouldn't be able to get help for those real problem jobs. And it is the truth, it's not a BS line. Okay? All right, so we need a good meter. We need micro leads. We need R410 gauges. We need our adapter from 1/4 to 5/16. We all know the outdoor units have a 5/16 flare connection. Schrader core removal tool. Nitrogen tank, a regulator that can go at least to 550. We need a good scale. We need a functioning, good, calibrated vacuum pump, and we need a micron gauge. Who here uses manifolds when they evacuate? You do? At least you're honest. You're one honest dude. Do you? Do you really? Do you use your gauges when you evacuate? Who else does? Now I got two more guys. What are you shaking your head for? You do? Do you use your manifold? Do you want me to save you a lot of time and frustration? Number one, you should come to my Appian evacuation class in a month. You'll learn a very solid lesson like I did 3 years ago. I never evacuate with manifolds anymore. I'm going to use a core remover. I'm going to use a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch hose. I'm going to hook that right up to my vacuum pump after I checked with the micron gauge that my pump is capable of getting to the levels that I want. And then I'm going to read the level with the micron gauge. I will cut your evacuation time probably in half or more. Okay? Because when you use manifolds, you got 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 hoses with 2 sides to each hose, so there's 8 chances of leaking. Your manifolds might be leaking. If you leave the core in, now you got a restriction. You take the core out, you go with a bigger hose, that thing will suck that thing down in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Okay? The micron gauge does a couple of things. When we were here in the lab last week, the kids are sitting there watching their manifolds. I'm like, where's your micron gauge? I go, do you think you're fully evacuated? Oh, yeah. I said, all right. Shut down his manifold. I hooked my micron gauge on. I go, I'm just opening it up. I didn't add any pressure, right? It goes, yeah. 5,000 microns, not even close. You got to use a micron gauge. If you get that micron level down to, I try to go to 150. If it stays for 10 minutes below 500, I assure myself that I don't have any leaks, I don't have any moisture in the system. Leaks is the number one cause of problems with ductless, okay? The other thing, when you are pressure checking, I would do at least 500 pounds, 550 probably tops. I learned that the hard way at Medina when I put that VRF system in there the first time. I had 64 flares. I was pressure checking with 150 pounds every day. Boom, boom. I'm like, what the hell? I'm bubbling, can't find anything. I bump up that pressure to 500 pounds. All of a sudden, found it right away. So when you're pressure checking a ductless system, go to at least 500 pounds. This stuff you can go 150, maybe 200. Okay? This stuff you want to go to 550 because those flares might seem like they're sealed until you put real pressure on it, and all of a sudden that little crack that you have or that little burr that you didn't deburr is going to leak. I like using,
How long do you normally keep it under pressure?
I try to keep it under pressure at least a half hour. At least a half hour. What I try to do is get everything hooked up, put the pressure in, and then we'll go back and maybe do the wiring at that time or start cleaning up the job, get the scale out, get the pump ready, the cord, all that crap. There's always something to do to eat up that time while you're waiting. Don't get all done and then pressurize it and you're just sitting there like this. I'm big on time management. I always told my guys, when you go up the stairs, you take something. When you go down the stairs, you take something. You know why? Because at 4 or 5 o'clock when it's time to go home, everything's up in the truck already. All I need is my money, give them a receipt. Okay? So we have to have good tools, guys. I laughed my ass off last week. I saw some of these guys bring their tools here. Mickey Mouse tools, man. You know when you were a kid, you got that little hammer set plastic where you're trying to hit the round ball in the square hole and that. I go get some good tools, please. Get good tools. Okay. These are the Appian digital gauges. I have a set of these. I love these things. I will say they're a little bit of money, but I have these two. I use the high side. So when I do my nitrogen check, I used to use the manifolds, the regular mechanical manifolds. What do you guys notice when you use regular manifolds when you're pressure checking? Does your head seem to tilt? So the needle stays where you wish it started from, right? If you use a digital, The digital doesn't lie. If it drops, it drops. Now, nitrogen will change pressure with temperature, but not as dramatic as it will with refrigerant. It is an inert gas, but it will change, and I'm saying within a pound or two, depending on the temperature swing. There's a formula somewhere. I'll try to find that. But I like using digitals to read my nitrogen check, and then I have the micron gauge. This, I've had probably 8 different micron gauges. This by far is the best, without a doubt. Okay? Make sure you got a dedicated charging hose. Make sure you have a dedicated vacuum hose. One of their gifts at graduation tomorrow. What does that say? This is an evacuation hose. It's not a pressure hose. I didn't know this until I had these guys do a class for me virtually when we were all on lockdown. The pressure hoses actually have pores in the hose because they have a bursting pressure. So by having the little perforations in it, if it does get in excess of the pressure that is rated, when it bursts, it tries to disperse the, who's here in the military, when you throw a grenade, what do you call that? Not percussion.
Fragmentation.
Something. You know, the stuff that'll kill you?
Yeah.
All right. So that's, pressure hoses have perf. These have no perforations in it. These are solid, so they are made strictly for evacuation. The other thing they're getting is core removal tools in here too. So again, the shit ain't cheap, but if you have the right tools, it makes the process quicker. I did a class here for the heat pumps probably a month and a half ago. The guys, one of the owners was here. He stayed with his guys. He had 8 of them. He said, I want to hear more about this. So we sat here for an hour talking about it. He went downstairs. He bought 5 sets for his guys. He goes, no more 2-hour lunches because it's evacuating. You guys are going to do it like this. And he saved time and money. A lot of time, a lot of money. Okay? Torque wrench, I don't care what kind you get. I have a little cheat sheet card inside of my torque set, and it just goes from 1/4 to 3/4 because I can't remember. Sometimes it's foot-pounds, sometimes it's Newmars or whatever that crap is. So I have my little cheat sheet, boom. And the nice thing on the torque, on the settings, it's in the installer's guide for what size and what the torque is. There's a range. I try to go right in the middle of the range, okay? But I definitely don't want to go near the top range because I'm afraid of snapping something off. Get a good vacuum pump. Make sure you're checking your vacuum pumps with your micron gauge. I usually, before the season, I'll take my hose, take my micron gauge, I'll hook up my core removal tool, micron gauge, hose, removal tool, right to the vacuum pump. I'm going to see what it's capable of doing. If you don't check, you might need oil. See that stain right there? Part of the apprentice class. We have them bring their rig in. We have them check their rig to see how low it'll go. You have to take the refrigerant out of the hoses before you turn the pump on, or you get stains in the ceiling. Or, everybody laughed, two more guys after that filled their pump up too much and he added to the stain. So, that stain will be here as long as I'm here, let me tell you. It's a great story, but it's true. Check the rig, make sure your rig is capable of pulling down what you need to get to. Let's see here. Thank God I did that. There you go. Japanese industrial screw. You can tell if it's a JIS screw by a little dimple here. This is a regular Phillips number 2. It's a little bit pointier. That's why it has more of a chance to strip this thing out. You can see on the bottom, this is a little flatter here. Okay, so this will actually lock right into that screw. Okay? So don't lose those. Put those in your
So you
tool.
could just grind the number 2 down and it would be the same.
Good. That'd be a hell of a grinder right there. Another thing, and we'll take a break here, as far as tools, we do carry a JB toolkit that has, it's got a torque set, it's got a flare block, a flare tool. Somebody answer that?
I did.
Huh?
I did.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's got a torque set, got a flare block, flare tool, got a set of gauges. They're kind of cheap, but they suffice. They got an American or a standard set of Allen keys. They got a metric set of Allen keys. The LGs are metric, just so you know. Don't try to use an American Allen set. It will not work. The old American Standard had the 3/16, 5/16. This is metric, so make sure you have a good set of metrics. I'm trying to think what else. They got some flare, or they have some service valve locks. They got some brass adapters, and I think they give you some different size flare nuts. The big thing with LG, I learned this the hard way too. I don't know when we started bringing in line sets, the easy pull line sets for mini splits with flares on them. Do not use the flares that come from the factory. They're junk. Cut them off. Make a flare nut bucket and take them to the scrap yard when scrap's up, if it ever goes up again. Okay?
The nuts are crap or the flares are crap?
Huh?
The nuts are crap?
The flare itself is crap.
So you-
But
yeah.
LG suggests that when you put their system in, to use the nuts that they supply. Okay? I did try to cheat one time, because anybody else, you take the quarter-inch flare nut off of a head or an outdoor unit, and that stupid cap is hard as hell to get off. Anybody run into that? I hate that thing. So I got in a hurry. I'm like, I got an extra quarter. I didn't know where it came from. Put it on the damn thing, it leaked. I'm like, shh. So I had to drill that stupid thing out, clean it out, used it, and away we went. So make sure, I don't know why we have line sets with flare nuts on them, because they are junk. If you even just look at it, you can see how rough they are, because they have a machine that does it. They have a machine that slides it on burp and just keeps going. They're not any good. So, all right, why don't we take a 7-minute break and we'll keep on going. To make your electrical connections. Anybody who's called Ed, after he tells them to recover the refrigerant and weigh the charge, the next thing is going to be check your electrical connections. Are you using stranded 14-gauge wire? Yeah. Did you use a Stacon? No. Do you have any splices in the comm wire? Yeah. Okay, before I help you anymore, go get some more cable. Go from point A to point B, no splices, because you're going to get communication errors. It happens all the time. All the time.
Sorry, what did you say? A steak on? You said?
Yeah, you can put that little fitting on the wire,
Yeah.
crimp it on, a little ring, take the screw off, put that ring on, make your connection. It's a nice tight connection.
Okay.
Don't use the forks, use a ring. Another thing too, which is an advantage, and you guys, I know you do Mitsubishi, on your branch boxes, those have to be powered by 220. They do, ours don't. So if you have a Multi-F Max,
They can be powered both ways.
both ways? Okay.
That's an option.
All right. With ours, you don't need to run a separate 220. Like when we had Fujitsu back in the day, you had to run 220 to the mixing boxes. The mixing box is basically, you're going to have one 220 circuit go outside. You're going to have a COM cable go from the outdoor to the mixing box. And then each individual line set and COM wire goes to each individual head. When you guys are doing multis with or without a box, make sure Unit A refrigerant line gets Unit A COM wire, okay? Because it gets mixed up a lot. And, you know, when I take a call every now and then, first thing I'm going to say is I'm not trying to insult you, because I've done it myself. Make sure that A refrigerant line is combined with A COM wire. I don't want A COM wire going to B head. So the easiest way, shut the system off, turn A on. You should feel the refrigerant lines at the head, and the fan should be running. If the refrigerant lines are running and B is blowing, you got your communication cable backwards. It happens all the time, okay? The only time you're going to need two 220 circuits is if you use one of our air handlers. They have to be individually powered up, because you do have the capability of putting resistance heaters in with the air handler. So that's the only indoor system that you will need two 220 circuits, or maybe 3 depending on the KW of the heater, okay? It's always good practice to put some type of surge protector on. They're pretty cheap now. I think we have Rector Seal, and I'm sure we have other ones. Anybody buy any of those from us, any other ones? Basically, it's going to parallel onto the line voltage at the disconnect. or if you don't have room in the disconnect, you can put it in the unit, parallel it with the incoming 220 and ground, and that will help protect that unit against any power surges, any brownouts, or leg loss. They're cheap and they work, okay? If you want to get cheaper, we still have those Zebras. They're little ones, those will work too, okay? But it's always good, especially if you know the area's got bad power, it's always a good idea to put in a surge protector accessory. I had a dealer by me show me, they got some, for you guys who do new construction, I can't remember the name of the manufacturer, but they got roughing kits, so if you want to run your lines and drain, there's a whole kit here, it's on YouTube's, that will protect everything during the construction process. And basically all you got to do is take that cover off, put your bracket on, put your head on, and everything's right there. If you guys are doing low ambient mechanical cooling, there are notes per unit about when or when not to use a wind baffle. You do not use wind baffles to go for extra low heating. The wind baffle is strictly for mechanical cooling and low ambient temperatures. Depending on the units, let's go to page 11, just for one example there. So this is the R-cooled mirror. That's one of the heads we can use for a single zone. You can see the rated cooling capacity, rated heating. It'll give you your heating capacities at different temperatures, outdoor temperatures, 17.5 and -4. Voltage is all that. Your MOCP is your maximum fuse size, so this would be a 15 amp. Tells you what kind of comm wire to use. Outdoor heating range, this will go down to -4. It is not a red system. It'll give you optional wind baffle. It's got a note there. What the note probably says is use a wind baffle if you want to mechanically cool down to 0 degrees. Set point ranges, blah, 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 blah. Sounds. Below, near in the piping, it'll tell you what size piping to use. It'll tell you the minimum and maximum allowable length of the line set. Do not go below or above that. Maximum elevation, so out of this 82 feet you could run, just under 50 can be lift. Do not put traps or loops in any of the piping ever. That'll be your your pre-charge pipe length is 41 feet. Anything above that per foot, you're going to add 0.22 ounces per foot. Okay, give you drain sizes, all that good stuff. The most important thing that I look at is that capacity up top there, especially if I'm doing a primary heat system. I want to see at worst conditions what the capacity is, so I make sure I can cover what that customer needs. If not, I'm going to have to try to go to the bigger size. And obviously, if it's primary, I'm going to go to a red system too. Okay? I'm not a big fan of wall brackets. It seems like a high percentage of the time when guys do use wall brackets, you're getting reverberation sounds off the house. I'm a personal fan of those quick sling stands. Those stands are bulletproof. They're made in America in Chicago, and they're heavy duty gauge. They give you, I think it's 12 or 14 inch lift up off that, off the ground. They do have, on the bottom plates, they do have some rubber strips to help absorb. They have rubber grommets that you can put between the unit and the stand. Anytime we can help absorb any of that reverberation from the unit, I like to do that. It does a couple things. It reduces noise issues with customers, and also any kind of, it helps reduce vibration if you have any pipes hitting anything. Okay, obviously both lines are insulated, a lot less likely than on a conventional system with tube rub leaks. But anything I could do, I'm not a fan of this. My house actually had my conventional system on a bracket. I had to move my unit anyways. If I didn't have the unit, I still was going to cut that damn thing off and set it on a pad. I'm not a big fan of these brackets.
I got a quick question about those brackets. I've been watching a lot of videos and they've been saying like even the brackets, they affect the compressor and the condenser and stuff like that. Like, do you think they have that kind of like wear and tear on it?
I think another, besides noise, a big problem with these brackets is you can't get the clearance away from the house that you should have. Now, LG wants you to go a minimum of 12 inches off the house, so we have the proper air. There's been, and I think they changed the literature a little bit, because some inspectors were saying, hey, you gotta go 12 inches, the book says it right here. You can go a little bit closer, but depending on how close you're getting, it reduces the capacity of the system. So if you go an inch, it's gonna reduce it by, I don't know, 5% or whatever the number is. But obviously, you don't wanna go right against the house, because I need to get air through that system. Go ahead.
The wind baffles protect against like hail too, or just?
It's not a hail guard. Basically, let's say that you're on the lake
Yeah.
and, you know, and I'm doing an IT room or I'm doing whatever, and I need mechanical cooling all year. That's going to redirect the wind coming through that system. Because if I get that real cold, gusty wind coming through that in the winter or in the summertime, you know, now I might be redirecting that heat back into the condenser coil, and I'm not going to be able to reject the heat like I would without redirecting the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you
So-
got to make sure too. Say the guy doesn't have any gutters, or he gets a lot of ice damming. You got to kind of ask questions and be aware of that, because that will directly affect that system. And I know this isn't the greatest picture in the world. What's wrong with this system here? Actually, both of them.
Too close to the house?
You can't really see it, but what do you see like right here, right here? It's ice banding, because I got a lack of airflow. That thing's going to ice up quicker and go into defrost more than it really needs to, because we don't have the clearance, okay? Obviously, they got something going on above here, because that thing is just loaded up with ice and snow, okay? So there are times you may have to tell the customer, listen, I'm looking above where I want to put your unit, and I see bad things that could happen. It doesn't look the greatest, you may need to do that. And this isn't just LG stuff, this is anybody's stuff. That's American Standard, Mitsubishi, Panasonic, whoever. Okay?
There's no minimum clearance for above these though, like there is with those.
No, because they're side discharge. Yep. So I go to a wedding. Let's see. I'm not going to sit here going through every submittal in the world. When you do get a submittal, I think I said it'll show you the indoor and outdoor information. All right, I got a picture coming up too. So first thing is, ask the customer, what is your primary need for this equipment? Heating, cooling, we do our sizing, okay? We pick out what type of indoor and outdoor unit we want. If we want any accessories or controllers, we do that. We take into consideration, especially through LATs, the piping, okay? So it's kind of like going up the stairs. You got to go up that first stair, then the second stairs. There's a whole sequence, okay, of the proper way to not only sell the unit, but to make sure you're getting the right material and the process of installing it, okay? If you just take a little bit more time, plan things out, job will go nice and smooth most of the time. Then we do our wiring, okay? We do a proper pressure check and leak evacuation. Then we do our startup, okay? So it's a whole sequence and it's a whole process. All right, indoor units. Obviously, we have a selection of indoor units. That's your and the customer's choice of what you want to do there. There's some considerations you got to take into effect. Noise. These things are pretty quiet. They're not silent, but they're quiet. Okay? People think quiet is silent. It's not. I mean, if you put your system on startup into that turbo mode, you're going to hear some air movement. Is that going to be an issue? I was with one of the guys last week when I got back. He goes, man, I have a little hard time with this selecting the indoor. So his one idea was, let's put a head right above the baseboard of their bedroom. I don't think that's going to be so good. But what do you mean? I go, they're going to complain to you that they're getting drafts and they're not going to like it, especially in air conditioning season. So what we ended up doing, thank God, is where the bedroom was, they had a space above the bedroom. He's going to go with a cassette on that one. Okay? So noise issues, Space usage, we had another one. Who the hell was I just talked to? Oh, Guy and Mary. He goes, I got this one room, and I can't, they want an inverter, I can't put ductwork anywhere, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, what do you got? He goes, I got a 1 foot space above the ceiling to the roof, and that's it. And this is, the inverter system's the only one I can use. I said, a package unit, or he goes, nope, ain't gonna work. So we ended up figuring out is we were talking about a cassette. He's gonna end up going with a a high static unit. He has enough room where he can get the ductwork run. And I said, they do make access panels, probably the size of that unit. I go, it's not perfect, but if you have that little pancake unit with the access panel, that'll allow you to make your connections, do your wire and everything. God bless you. Holy mackerel, Corona, Jesus. But he'll, at least he'll have an access panel, and he'll have more capability of, if he has to service-wise, working on that high static than he would with the cassette, because the cassette, you gotta get up on in there. When you're planning out a job, make sure and it sounds stupid, but it's not, make sure that you have the minimum clearances to where if you need to change a fan motor or a coil, that you have access to that, okay? Take into consideration airflow patterns. These, especially the heads, we're able to change the louvers this way. We're able to change the indoor louvers this way. Sometimes I like it fanning because it has a nice throw to the whole room. Okay? Wintertime, point that bad boy down, heat rises, let it go. Cooling, point it up, it's like an umbrella. Okay? So make sure that you actually read. What do you guys think of our install guides at LG? Say they suck. They suck. I found out something when I was doing the VRF in Medina. There's a little silver tag, and it looks like a model number nomenclature tag, and it's got a little QR code on it. If you hit the QR code with your reader, it'll take you right to the LG site, and it'll bring up that installer's guide. Just a little tidbit if you've never done it. The factory didn't even know that, because I told the rep that we used to have. I'm like, I finally figured out if you hit that QR code with that little silver tag, it'll automatically pop up a more detailed install guide. So, just a little more information. Model numbers, I'm not going to go through model numbers, but model number explanations are in the book. This is the most important 3 letters or numbers in the model, is the last 3 or 4. Let you know what the version, is it backward compatible? Ben, I wrote that down. You'll get that before I go today. Our air handlers are multi-positional. There is some reconfiguring coil-wise, but very simple to do. A lot of these systems you can buy an accessory to wire a standard 24-volt thermostat. Why you would want to do that, I have no clue. But all the high wall heads come with a remote control. The cassettes, the high and low static, and I think the wall console. Does the wall console come with a remote or no? I think it does? Okay. So the wall console with the high wall is remotes. The other ones do not come with remotes. You have to hardwire those. Okay? And there's different connections for that. There are some dry contacts, condensate. If you have a third-party condensate pump with a external shutoff, if it doesn't wire right to the main power, and you need an extra set of contacts, we have that on there too. I like with this one, I just wired that right into the power, and I broke a power line. You never want to break a communication line. On LG, the communication line's number 3. Don't ever use that as a switch because you get faults all the time if that pump opens up. So you never want to switch a communication line. You want to do one of the line voltage.
Ken,
Yo,
the ceiling cassettes, those are hardwired into the stat, right?
correct.
Now, the sensor, is it able to be changed to where it reads from the head into the status.
Yeah, you have to configure that into the thermostat to let it know where you want to read the temperature from. And that brings up a good point too. On the high walls, there's a return air sensor right above by the coil. So you're actually reading temperature right there at the coil. The display that it shows is going to show you the actual set point, not the temperature. On the remote, if you want to see what the actual temperature is, where the remote is, or I'm sorry, where the head is, you can hit room temp and it'll show you that. Okay?
Which will be elevated.
Correct.
Because it's
Yep.
up high, okay.
Another big problem we have, and this is anybody's mini split, your penetration holes have to be sealed.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know how many calls that we get. Well, this lady's complaining that she's got to turn the air conditioner to 80 because she's so cold, you know. That tells me right away that they didn't seal where the lines and the condensator coming through the wall. In the summertime, I got hot air. The sensor is right there, basically, so you're getting a false return air temperature reading. Make sure that I like to shove insulation in both sides, a little bit of plastic. I usually rip the bag off with the head. I put plastic in for a little vapor barrier, and then I will do permagum, and then I put my flange cover on for my line height or whatever I'm going to do there. So make sure that penetration hole is sealed. On our cassettes and on the high and low static, they actually have a lift pump. Don't think of this as a condensate pump. It's actually a lift pump. So in this case, if I want to go gravity-fed drain, obviously I don't want to run it below my ceiling. I could hook up my piping, go up, and then hit that naturally elevated drain, gravity-fed drain. Okay, this is not a condensate pump. It's a lift pump, and I have a picture. I think it's like just less than 28 inches. I got it here. Let me get through these specs. There it is. Okay, the maximum from the pump to where you're going to connect to the main drain is going to be 27. I figured 25 inches to be safe, and it's not because that pump won't handle more lift. The problem is if that pump fails, the amount of water that is held in that 27 and 9/16 pipe will come back down and it'll flood that pan out. So if you go more than that 27.9, the pump fails, then all that water comes back. That pan can't handle any more of that water. So it'll be raining out of that cassette. So the basic object of that pump is to get you a little bit of lift, so now I can hit that naturally gravity drain there.
Is there a switch built in to shut it down if the pump
No.
fails?
Nope. It's called Rain on Me, like the Who. Huh?
Like we do with condensate.
What's the minimum you can go?
No minimum here. No
You can
minimum.
go straight at it if you
Yep.
had to, just as long as there's that quarter pitch per foot.
Yep. And if you don't want, if you have the elevation where you don't want to use the pump, you could just plug the pump, and there's another connection for the drain. Right here. There's a gravity drain right there. So you
Okay.
just plug that and just hook right into your gravity drain and you're good. Okay? Control wiring is right here. Obviously your refrigerant connections. To hang these, basically all thread some 3/8 nuts or whatever other contraption you guys come up with. All threads usually most popular. Double nut it, lock it so it can't vibrate and fall on somebody's head. And I would double lock it on both sides when you drop your rod through. Huh?
So if the pump fails, the system will just keep running and it will flood.
If the pump fails,
It's not gonna.
eventually you're gonna rain, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
You're gonna rain while it's running.
Yeah.
And when it's not running, if you went above that 27.9,
Right, no, I understand that.
okay. Okay, again, low static units are not meant to be ducted 30 feet. Basically, you want to have a little transition, one register, your return, good to go. High static, we got a little bit more play to it.
Wired in.
Sometimes I talk before I click. Okay, You gotta make sure that on the low end high static unit, you gotta make sure that you're engineering that duct system not to go over the limitations of that airflow, or you will get in trouble. If you want to change, there are adjustments on the high and low static that you could do to the fan within a range, but you'll have to configure that into the wired controller. Okay, so you do have a little bit of play there, but not a lot. In the specs on the in the catalog, it'll show you the CFM range of the high and low and what the maximum static is for those two units too. Here's a fan curve. Forgot which one this was. Okay. Basically, what it's telling you is this for this LVN 180. This is for an air handler. It'll tell you on, what the CFM is per static pressure. Okay. So again, a box does not just blow air. It has a lot to do with what am I hooked up with, what is my static pressure, just like on our stuff and any manufactured stuff. You got to know your static. You got to know the capability range of that equipment and what you're trying to do, and it has to fall into the white box, not the gray box. Gray box, bad. Okay, it means you're going over the ratings, and you're going to start doing equipment damage. Most of the wired controllers we sell are simple wired controllers. There is, like any thermostat configuration that you need to do. Not a lot on singles, mostly when you get into multis. That's when it gets a little bit more involved. I'm waiting to do a controls class so I can get a little more educated. Ceiling cassettes, you have to order the cover separately as an accessory. I think every manufacturer makes you do that.
Why?
So they make more money. There's a couple on some of them, there's a couple different choices that you can make. And I think one has a white one has a black one. But it's not, to be honest, it's to make more money. Just like in the old days, you bought a car, you want air conditioning, it's another $800. You want AM, FM radio with a cassette, it's another $300.
What's a cassette?
I remember 8 tracks too. I remember 78 albums and 33 albums.
What about 45?
45s too. That was the singles. That was the singles right there.
I don't remember any of that shit.
Well, you missed a good time, let me tell you. We have 2 different cassettes.
Queen came down.
Huh?
Come on.
Hell yeah, those were the hits.
You should know.
We have two different size cassettes, 2x2 and a 3x3. So you have a choice of that. If anybody is doing a 3x3 job, I have two cassette covers sitting in my cube in Medina for, I don't know, 4 years now. You can have them. Get them out of there. I was told to clean my area. I'm like, I'm never here. Giving it all away.
Is that a common ceiling tile size? 3x3?
No, I'd be for more of a commercial or open, like an IT room or something. Oh. On the heads, we run into this a lot too. You got to have at least, if not more than 4 inches side to side. The throw has to be able to throw down at least 6.5 feet. And the top, they say 8 inches. Whenever I can, I try to stay about 12 inches below the ceiling. If you get closer than 8 inches, you could be recirculating air. It could throw your return air sensor off a little bit. Okay. Remember, heat rises, so I could be reading a little warmer than I actually am down here. When you put the bracket on too, make sure you don't over tighten that bracket, because if you do, sometimes it'll warp that bracket. And if this thing speeds up to a little higher capacity, you may hear some knocking or vibration. Make sure you don't over tighten that bracket. I'll give you a little piece of advice too. Before you go to hang the unit, after you mount it, take your tongs or something, the top flange to where the top of the unit locks into, bend that thing out a little bit. Now we bend it out on a 45-degree angle, just give it a little bit of bend, especially if you're hanging it yourself, okay? It'll get it on there and it'll lock nice and tight. so that there's like a little hook that will catch the top and on the bottom. Usually there's 2 screws that will allow you to screw the bottom of the body of the head right into the bracket. So if you had to access it, take those 2 screws out. What I like about LG, and I think there's a picture here next.
So, wait, on LG, there's actually screws holding it to the bracket?
The bottom, just the bottom.
Yeah, but still, the American Standard, there's nothing holding it to the bracket, it's just hanging there.
It's just 2 little ears, this
I'm just surprised.
wall
I like it.
bracket.
I like it.
I think I remember reading this.
Yeah, there's 2 little,
Screws.
it's just so nobody can come over and just yank it off.
Right.
No, from what I remember, the American Standard, there was little clips. Well, here, yeah, there were little clips. You had like 4 screws here. Yeah, they're right here.
The screws just,
Huh?
those just hold the cover on.
They hold the cover to the unit.
Yeah.
Well, on the LG, the bottom, does anybody here try to take the LG apart to hang the, why?
Well, to pull, to clean a blower wheel, I've done it.
Listen, I
Well,
said
then
install. I
No,
said
no,
install.
No, don't do that.
Jeez.
You'll have to take it off.
No,
Back on.
you take that U piece of plastic off, it unsnaps,
Yeah.
and you have enough room where you can get your communication cord through there, where you don't have to take it all apart. This one you had to take apart, because you couldn't fish that through. You don't have to do that with this. All you gotta do is take that little bottom U by the louver off. You have full access to all your wiring and everything. What I like to do is I poke the comm wire from outside in, let it hang, get the unit set, lines through, get that thing hooked up, inside's done.
They have that kickstand too, that's a really nice feature.
That's what I was gonna show you here, I think it's the next slide or 2. That comes in very, very handy.
Yeah, especially when you go on the left side or
Yep.
something.
So here's the bracket. What I wish they would do, number one, I wish they would put these numbers in inches and not millimeters or whatever that is, kilometers or whatever the crap is, grams or shit. All right? Because they give you different measurements, but they're in millimeters, and then they give you for A, B, or C cabinet. I wish they would just put, like right here somewhere, this is an A cabinet, and then have an arrow like 5 inches, 1 inch.
American Standard used to do it, didn't they have 2 arrows going in and you
Yeah.
just intersect them and that's where you're gonna go?
Yep.
Yeah.
They somewhat do it here, but everybody's got to make everything so difficult. So make sure that in the installer's guide, it'll say A, B, or C cabinet. It'll give you millimeters. I hate to be a friend of Google, but hey Google, how many inches is 4.3 gigabytes or whatever the bullshit is? Oh, that was Back to the Future. Here's that little bracket. I love this thing. So on the wall units, you actually can go 1, 2, 3. I think you can go 4 different ways with the lines. The lines come packed in the back here, but there's a little bracket here that you can lift the bottom of that wall unit off. So if I'm making my connections behind the unit and not bending it, I try not to bend it whenever I don't have to. I can get that bottom of that unit away so I can get clearance so I can make all my connections in that too. When you're done, you just pull away, fold it back up, right back on, 2 screws, and you're good. So it's a nice bracket too for service. But sometimes you're going out a hole and right down. You don't have a lot of give there to pull the bottom of that unit out. So I like that. The wiring is very simple, pretty accessible. Make sure and this is on anybody's stuff, make sure that when you're drilling your penetration hole outside, you want to go in a down configuration towards the outside, basically for your condensate pipe. This is the configuration. You got your big line on the top, you got your little refrigerant line here, put your drain hose on the bottom, and then sneak your comm cable in between there. I always like to tape it when I'm putting it in the wall. I've learned too that I actually went up a 1/4 inch bigger on diameter on my hole saw. It makes it way, way easier than sitting there fighting it. So, but make sure that drain isn't kinked. Make sure that it got a little dip in it in an uphill fashion. You want to have a straight shot to the outside, or you're gonna get a phone call about water all over the wall on a 90-degree day. There's the screw I was talking about. Top snaps in, screw 1, screw 2. You supported it to the bracket on the bottom. Now nobody can move it unless they do the gorilla move and tackle it. These are different configurations for refrigerant lines. The refrigerant lines come configured to go to the left as you're looking at it. If you're going to bend the pipes, try to bend one at a time. The pipes actually come with us old farts, you guys don't know what an 8-track or cassette is, so you might not know what a spring bender is, okay? Before they had that, you had a spring, you put it on the tubing and you bent it nice and slow. They have springs on the piping. Make sure you do one at a time and do it very slowly, because if you try to gorilla it and be in a hurry, that will happen. Your LG is junk, doesn't work, and that's what we find. Somebody just bent it real quick and they ended up kinking. It looks like a damn pretzel, that piece of copper. Okay, so take your time. If you have to bend it, do one at a time, nice and slow. You think that's a restriction right there?
Yeah.
How's that going to do in the heating mode? Little high head pressure, compressor going to be singing, whining, crying. Okay, but LG's junk.
Looks good to me. But maybe I'll send it.
Okay. Outdoors. Again, location is huge. I went to a wedding. I thought I had a picture of that still. I'll talk in a while. What's wrong with this picture?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nope. Fine.
I think I might be wrong.
This is a super high efficient, air cooled. Yeah, it looks great.
Maybe the
That's an
back
outside
one might be,
cooler.
but the front one's not.
It'll help with defrost.
It'll help in defrost. Yeah. I know everybody can't see it. My niece got married and that, yeah. I went to the owner, I go, this shit ain't gonna work here. He goes, oh, that thing struggles. I go, well, duh. It's back to back. So you got this one. This row works pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But in the summertime, what am I doing?
Add a little extra something.
Blowing all my extra heat right into this unit and then to that unit. How about in the summertime, that nice cold air-conditioned air? That unit's probably going through defrost 10 times a day. You gotta lay it out so it doesn't hurt the operation and the performance of the machine. You gotta have common frickin' sense. I wish they taught that in high school. Not for me, my kid. So they do have diagrams in the installer's guide. If you do have multiple units, yeah, we could put this one here, but we're gonna have a minimum distance between that and this one, and then we're gonna go back to back. I know it doesn't look as nice, but I'd rather it not look as nice and do the performance than have performance issues and then for free having to go back and do it the right way. So make sure that you take into consideration the layout. Make sure you take into consideration where the snow might accumulate. Okay? Let's start with this one. What's wrong with this unit? I don't have any pump ups, right? What's wrong with that? When I go to defrost, that water's got a very limited space to go. If it's cold, below 32 degrees, it's gonna freeze, and all of a sudden, this unit's gonna be getting lifted up.
Too close to the house.
Too close. It's way too close, even though we can't see the depth. Okay? Same thing with this one. It looks like the same damn house, probably. All right? Wall bracket, too close to the house. Okay? Penetration isn't sealed,
It's going downhill too.
and it's backwards, or it's off level. These units up here, they are back to back, and you can't really tell the depth, but these systems are a little bit too close together, back to back. The one kid said, oh, the power's off. Well, yeah.
I remember what it is that they were.
They have to be bolted down It's very, very, how accessible is this? If you gotta get in there and troubleshoot,
It's
not accessible at all. Like I said earlier, make sure that you take a few more minutes and a little more time to think about in the future, if I gotta work on this unit, how accessible is it gonna be? Anybody here ever put a furnace in a basement? And instead of taking your time and turning it around so it's open, we're all working on it like this, right? How do you get a blower out? How do you get a heat exchanger out? How do you change a board? How do you change an igniter? All it takes is a little bit of gas line, move the electric, drain goes on the other side. It's all good. It's easy. Okay? All right. We talked enough about flares. Take your time, ream it, clean it, because use a backup wrench, use a torque wrench. There's the classic right there. 1/4-inch pipe. What happened? Probably a bad flare. Probably over-tightened it because he didn't have a torque wrench. Hopefully this happened when he put nitrogen on it and not opened the system up, because that would have been an expensive oopsie. How much is 410 a bottle now? I don't even know. $4.50? Stupid ridiculous. Anybody want to go have some on pallet? No. 9 out of 10 G's. All right, that's why we have to make sure we got the proper flaring tool, we do the reaming, clean it up, and then when we lock it down, make sure that we torque it correctly. I've done that too. Always because you're in a hurry. All right. So I put a multi in my buddy's house. I call up Mark Muth, who's our commercial quotes guy. I go, you son of a bitch, where are my reducers? The reducers come, I think it starts at a 180 and above. Okay, indoor walls, there are reducers in the box. He goes, they're in the box. I go, no, they're not. I hung up on him. What did I do after that?
Check the box.
I checked the box. Guess what was in the box? All the reducers I needed. What if you don't need the reducers? Put them in your truck. You're gonna need them. We finally did bring some of them in because guys were, like me, almost threw the box out. Okay, but there are several of our heads can be used one-to-one, and they can be used in multis too. There are times that you are going to need reducers. They will come with the heads that can be reduced, not always need to be reduced, okay? So if you guys have extras, make sure you keep them. They're like gold. I know Ed's got a box. I keep some. And I think Josh out in Toledo is even starting to do it too. Tim's a dumbass. Okay, make sure that when we're running our line sets, make sure every 5 or 6 feet you have some type of a mounting, clamping, support. That's what I was looking for. Some type of support, because we do get some vibration when that thing ramps up, ramps down. Make sure we have support. Make sure we don't have any sagging, because sagging will actually cause an oil trap. Obviously, the refrigerant charge on these things are not all that much. Oil travels with refrigerant. If I have a little loop in it, or if somebody looped their copper, all that oil is going to sit there like a trap. Okay? Never use traps. Use the right size refrigerant. Don't kink refrigerant lines. Like, I don't want you kinking in here. One of the guys, one of the little, one of the stations here, one of the guys kinked the liquid line. He goes, I'll fix it. I go, no, let's leave it like that. Let's see what it does. So we started their system up. We checked superheat suction pressure, subcooling, head pressure, all that. He goes, man, looks like I'm kind of low. I go, you're not low. I go, look at your other side of your system. You've got high head, high subcooling, because he kinked the liquid line. It's still sitting there. I said, feel this side of the kink, feel this side of the kink. I go, what do you feel? He goes, this side's cold. I go, yeah, that's your metering device now. Okay, so when you don't fix kinks, you create a metering device, or you create a log jam in the refrigerant circuit on the suction side. Now I can't get oil back, can't get refrigerant back, that's when we start having some major issues. We have different types of connection. This is the stake on I was talking about right here. For the com connection. We have 14.4 com wire. I think we brought this in. This is nice stuff. I can't imagine how expensive it is though, but it's actually almost like a Greenfield type with a rubber coating, so it's weatherproof outside for your com wiring from outside to inside. Just make sure you use stranded. Make sure you got a good crimper, and you know what happens is that I've done it in the past. You know, just stick that wire in that screw. Sometimes you don't know if you got a nice tight connection, or later down the line that thing's going to vibrate and loosen up. Now I got communication errors here or there. Don't need any of that. Don't do any splicing from inside to outside or from box to indoor unit. Make sure you use a nice stake on, nice tight connection, problem free. Okay, these are our connections outside. This is a single, so we got our line voltage with the ground. Bring that in. You got a separate terminal block for your line voltage, line 1, line 2. Here's your ground, your communications. You have 1, 2, and 3 terminal. You're going to go from outside to 1, 2, and 3 on the inside. Pretty self-explanatory, okay? Make sure you don't nick your cable. Make sure you don't have, if you're using stake-ons, it shouldn't happen. Make sure you don't have any strands that are kind of hanging around there that could possibly short up against the next terminal. If you got a multi, I've had guys get a little bit confused on the first ones. Obviously, you have your 2 power supply first. Then your com wires, you have L1 and 2, which you will combine, you know, in this case, 2 indoor heads. 1, 2, you got 2 wires there, but then number 3 is going to be 3A, 3B. You want me to tell on Ed now? When he put a multi with 2, he put a cassette and a high wall in the training room in Medina. He accidentally put everything on number 3. So I went to turn it on, I only turned 1 on and both of them came on. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I opened it up and he had them both together, so I just found unit number B, went to B, now I had the proper and independent controller. I hammered him on that. And I heard the word home run. Yeah, this would be a multi-F system to where everything, line sets and comm wires are all home run into the outdoor unit. Where do you think the metering devices are on this system? Where are the metering devices on this system?
I would imagine they're all in the outdoor unit.
You said evaporator. Did you? What'd you say?
I said I imagine they're all in the outdoor unit.
Right. They are in the outdoor unit. On the 1-to-1s and on the multi-F, all of the metering devices are in the outdoor system. Okay? If you have the multi-F Max that has the mixing boxes, the metering devices are all in the box. Okay? When you get into mini VRF and stuff like that, that's a whole different story. All the indoors have to be separately powered because all the metering devices are in the indoor units. Okay?
When are you going to have a class?
You want to know the truth about mini VRF? I've been to classes on it. I still don't fully understand it. Like I still don't fully understand these until I can master this stuff. As far as I mastered that. I can tear that apart. I'll troubleshoot that all day long. I don't have that lovey-dovey feeling here. Not that this is my call, and not that I'm talking bad about our company. Internally, we are not set up to support mini VRF. Plain truth. It's going to be. Why should I sell you guys something that we cannot go on a startup and support if we have problems? And I have some salesmen that we got to get into that. No. If you guys want to do it, that's cool, but don't get me involved because I know I'm going to have to get involved. Until we are set up internally to handle that, what did that girl say who worked with me? Stay in your lane. You got to stay in your lane and know the speed limit. And when you think you put your big boy pants on, you want to advance when you're set up internally to advance, then you can go in the next lane, but you got to put your turn signal on first. You gotta stay in your lane. Don't be a master of every, or what is it? Jack of all trades and master of none, my old man used to say.
Well, there's more to that statement.
Whatever. I get the point.
This diagram is that room C is connected to 1L1. Is that a repeat of the one
This
on
is
the
a
left?
3-unit system.
Yeah.
So terminal, communication terminal, number 1 and 2, all 3 systems will be paralleled there. Then the communications from unit A will go to 3A. Communication wire 3 from B will go to 3B. C will go to 3C.
So they all share 2 ports, when
Yeah,
you're
the line
connecting.
voltage.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, the first 2 do. Number 3 will have its own line voltage in the comm terminals there.
Oh, why is?
Because you
why is
can't
that?
get enough wires on there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see, now
All right, this would be a multi-F max with mixing boxes, okay?
there's power into the
So now, I got 2 mixing boxes, where are they?
terminals for the heads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there it
to
is.
you then.
So I got 2 mixing boxes, again, we don't need a separate 220 circuit to those or the indoor units.
You're asking about-
One 220 circuit and all your comm wiring goes out, it goes from the outdoor unit along with line voltage, or, goddamn, slow down, bro. Too much coffee. All right, one 220 circuit going outside, then we have our comm wire from outside to our terminal board for the mixing box. From the mixing box, then we send out our refrigerant piping and our comm wiring to the other indoors. We can go up to 8 indoor units, but we need, on those systems, the multi-F max, those need mixing boxes and sometimes Y, depending on the configuration of the piping in your units. Okay?
And for the BDUs, you have to run more than one head on each BDU, right?
You do.
The minimum 2.
Yep. And I believe one of them has to be at least half of the capacity if you're gonna do minimum heads. Lats.
Yeah, right.
Lats will tell you. Lats will save you. Okay, this is showing, if you wanna put a third-party condensate line on, I can tell you this. One of the 3 things, if you don't remember anything else, one is the red, the Smart ThinQ. Do not switch your third-party condensate pump on line number 3. You will get a ton of no communication faults. It'll drive you crazy. Make sure, I always use line 1, it's easy to remember, okay? If you have a problem wiring one of these pumps, call us, let us know what pump, because some of the pumps have different wiring schemes per manufacturer. Let us know. I started a little library of them, so let me know and I can help you out with that. But not after 2, man.
All right, a note after 2.
Okay, so a little bit of review. It's all common sense, guys. Ask the customer what they need, pick out the correct equipment, do your load calculations, okay? We want to do proper matching, we want to do proper line sizes and lengths. We want to do a good pressure check on it. We want to do a good evacuation without manifolds. You should come to that class, man. It'll blow you away. It will, time's money, okay? Don't splice any comm wiring. Use your brand new screwdriver. That's worth $10,000 we gave you today. You're welcome. Nothing but the best here. At least I give a tool you can use. I will not take any credit for this. I say by tomorrow they will all be out of my truck. Thank God. That and any of you who got the plastic cups that when you put coffee in it and you grab the cup it burns your hand, that was not me. That was marketing. Oh, we got these cool cups. It burned my hand. We got 3 lawsuits. All right. Make sure you got a good micrometer, evacuation hose, core tool remover. All right. Good nitrogen gauge up to 550 pounds. Scale if you have to add any. A good vacuum pump that you've checked to make sure it'll get down to the level we need to get to. You're saying 550 pounds for an hour? Do I do an hour? If I got more to do, yeah, I'll leave it on there until I'm ready. Okay? It was funny because when we were pressure checking these systems last Friday, I told the guys, I said, number one, don't touch a torch, electrical, nitrogen, or refrigerant without me being at your station. So we came in here because I call this station Speedy Gonzales because they always seem to get done first. Until they ran all the wires, they didn't go through the electrical connections, they ran it. I go, now put the cover on. Oh, I can't do that. I go, well, duh, you're finished, right? Then I unplugged the motor. And I said, all right, we're going to start yours up first. Things started freezing up. I go, troubleshoot it. You guys are technicians. You know everything. What's wrong? One guy did have his thermometer up there. I was proud of him.
No one even noticed the blower wasn't running?
No. No, they're like, I said, I know what the problem is. What? I go, I'm not telling you. I'm paying you. You're at my house. Fix this. I go, common sense. Compressor running? Yeah. Why is that line freezing up? What causes that line to freeze up? First thing, low airflow? I go, yeah. I go, did you check the filter? Oh, there's no filter in there. I go, what are you going to check next? And one guy finally, he's like 8 feet tall, puts his hand up there. He goes, I feel cold air, but it's not blowing. I go, there you go. All right? So they opened up the nitrogen tank. I said, listen, when you do a nitro check, you want to give it a little and then shut it off so if you got something obvious, you can hear it so you don't blow your whole bottle, right? No. Junior over here, I'm not going to tell you what else happened here because I'm just praying there's not a lawsuit on that one, but wasn't pretty. Don't touch anything unless I'm there. Whenever you're using a micron gauge, make sure, if you can, you're vacuuming from one side, make sure you're reading the micron level on the other side of the system. Don't ever tie it together here, because all that micron gauge is telling you is what this vacuum pump and this hose is doing to this point. I like hooking it up on one side. On the other side, I'm going to put my micron gauge, so now I'm sure that this whole system is at that micron level. Okay? There are times if you'd use, Mayan Appion's way of evacuation, which is the hose and the core remover. If you pull a really fast vacuum, there's times you may have to double or triple evacuate. It gets down that fast, it has a chance, if there's any condensation in the pipe, to freeze. So you want to break that vacuum with a little bit of nitrogen, start the process again, and again, you might have to do it 2-3 times just to ensure you don't have any moisture that froze up in the system. You look like you're ready to fall asleep, bro. You all right? All right. Always weigh in your refrigerant charge for your trim. The scale also comes in handy if, like those guys had to go on that call, we're going to tell you, take that refrigerant out and weigh it. Is it close to that factory charge? No, it's about half. Okay, find your leak, evacuate, charge her back up. All right. I like these charts. When the indoor unit is I hate rules of thumb, but this is a good one, because I never knew this. When the indoor is set up pretty far away from room temperature, your temperature drop should be 25 to 35 degrees. Okay? Your supply air temperature, 4358 range. Okay? Again, you don't want to gauge up on these systems. I'll talk about something else here in a second. When you're close to the supply air temperature, when you're close to set point temperature, your delta T is going to close. Why is it going to be closer than that 25, 35 degrees? And ramping down, okay? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to run that outdoor unit at the slowest possible speed to satisfy my stat or my remote. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna say, hey man, I'm getting pretty close to room temperature, let's save some energy, let's ramp that thing down, I'm still cooling at a good clip, but I don't need all that capacity, I don't need to use all that energy, okay? So just like in heating, when you hit that turbo, when you first turn it on, nice warm air, right? But once you start getting closer to set point, you're gonna feel that air get a little bit cooler, a little bit cooler. It's doing that for a reason, because that outdoor unit now sees that it's getting close to where it needs to be, it's slowing down. It sees that the air coming out of the system is above the set point, which means I'm still heating, but at a very low energy usage. I'm efficiently still heating or cooling the space, but at a lower capacity. Okay? This fan will run all the time. Why does that have to run all the time? Where's the sensor? It's up top. If I'm not moving air, you're getting a false reading. You have to move air all the time.
Is there a way to get past the minimum and maximum set points?
No. I know that for sure because I got one heating my garage and I can't. In the old days, there is a way. There is a way. But you got to use a regular thermostat.
Yeah, thermostat and a relay.
I have that drawing. Mr. Penguin used to use that drawing all the time. God rest his soul. There's startup sheets here too, but there also is a tool, and I think they've changed it, called the Sims tool. The Sims tool, I don't have one here. The Sims tool you actually plug into the outdoor unit. It'll give you a download of information that will give you sensor readings, pressures, superheats, all this information.
You can actually record your data.
Yep. And what that'll do is if we have a hard time troubleshooting, we can actually download that information, send it to the factory. They can help us deduce what the problem is. Sims is going away. They're going to LGMV. I think that is an app. I have not heard more on that, but it's pretty similar to Sims. Sims you can still use. Think of it as a set of gauges for your system, except electronically you're going to plug it into that outdoor unit. It's going to download all the data from what that system is doing. And that'll help us and the factory help troubleshoot.
So the new one's going to be like more like app-based?
App-based.
It'll Bluetooth it?
Yeah, or Wi-Fi. It'll be Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like if you were using like an iPad or something, you're there, there's,
I think it.
you would have to connect to it would basically have an onboard network.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Instead of being hardwired, you know.
It says requires physical connection to equipment.
There you go.
Oh.
Should be the Sims. no,
That's how much I know about it. I've never used it. I still have the Sims tool that I hardwire in.
And you need Wi-Fi.
How much is
Oh, they have
that
Wi-Fi
phone
in the
gonna
office.
cost?
I think the app is free. The Sims tool,
Yeah.
I don't know. If you want one, I might have a spare one
I
somewhere.
have it. I have the Sims tool. I need the replacement.
You need a replacement Sims tool?
Look at the MV, the thing they're gonna use now.
Hey, look, there's Organizer.
There's a guy in there.
Yeah,
You want to
that's
come up
on
here?
that,
That's
that's
off the tire.
I told you they had it, that's why I didn't use it.
Well, that's why I asked them.
LG enabled to smart at your, what?
So you wouldn't need the iWave V or W V.
I've not seen that. Are you sure that's by using a better
Yeah,
Wi-Fi modem?
that's
than
one of the
phone?
features on the remote. Use mine at home.
I didn't know they had that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Told you if I don't know something, I ain't gonna lie to you.
So you got positive and negative ions, right?
It wasn't crazy. This time you guys got it.
Smart ThinQ is the app. Download the app. It'll walk the customer right through how to set that thing up. The first time you do it's a little confusing. You got to download the app. You got to get the remote, press a couple buttons to enable the Wi-Fi on the head. Then you got to get out of the app, go to your phone settings. That unit's going to create and get into your Wi-Fi. It's going to create an LG Wi-Fi on there. Usually it's like LG 1043, whatever. You take the last four numbers of that LG, go back to the app. It's going to ask you for a password. Put that password in twice. and it'll connect you. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. The first time it blew me away. I'm like, am I stupid? What's going on? And finally, I'm like, I'm just going to try this, and it's pretty simple too. But I will say that the app is much easier to use than the remote. Okay, the app is more for customers, especially. The app is more like a thermostat that they're used to. With the remote, it gets a little confusing for them. For mine, if I want to turn mine on and off and adjust it, I just use the app. Okay, that's a sim. If you need, I'll find you the answer on that LGMV. Yeah, this is kind of the charts and some of the information. If you download the Sims app, they have a demo mode that will allow you to kind of navigate through that mode to show you different things. And I'm still kind of practicing on how to deduce certain information here and there. Some of it I just don't know because it's pretty deep, but that's why I keep playing with it and learning. Like I said, I'm not an ace at this stuff yet. This is all, I came from standing pilot world. Pretty happy. Fan limit, standing pilot, and a manual override on the gas valve. Oh yeah, then you milk candles. All right, and this is just going through different information. You can download this, and then we can throw it on a stick and send it to, or email it to the factory. And I think, all right, let's learn together about the LMV. Service software for laptop, computer, or mobile device. Diagnostic tool will allow wired and wireless diagnosis.
See wireless.
See?
So
All right, so this is going to take over for the Sims. This will be for the residential, singles, and the multi-F. A lot of similarities to Sims. Again, I don't have it yet, so I'm not real familiar with it. Wired is a PC-based program. Wireless is for Android, tablet, or iOS. I think they're supposed to say tablet. So it looks like it's got more graphics, a lot more information on it.
yeah, and it looks like there's a device you probably plug into the board up there to make it wireless to your tablet.
Module.
Yeah, the module.
Contractor support. Basically, we're your primary source of support. I know there's a factory in Alpharetta, Georgia. There's one in Dallas. There's one in Jersey, one in Cali. And then we also have a couple of other distributors that we've partnered up with, not only for equipment-wise, if we do need it, but information-wise too. One guy in Erie, I'm going there this summer. They got a hot shot there, and I'm going to go there for probably a week and just kind of shadow this guy for a week so I can get a little deeper into this stuff. Availability, for the most part, I don't want to talk about that brand. I want to talk about this. But the availability, LG, from what I hear, has been pretty good. I know that we did order a container full, and I think Carl said, because I got him drunk last week, I think within the next 2 or 3 weeks that container's coming in. So we should be pretty good on stock. Okay. All right. Last thing, and I'll get you out of here. Who's in sales? 1, 2. What size you wear? Large, extra large? Large? Extra? Really?
Yeah.
All right, Ben, ready? Greg? Medium. We're getting large. There you go. Bill?
I'm good.
X?
No, I'm good.
You want? X?
X.
Good, because all I got is that, and one large. What do you want, Lou?
Extra large.
What do you want?
Extra large.
You salesman?
Yeah.
Shit.
I thought you told us every technician's a salesman.
Yeah. What?
You say we're all salesmen.
I don't.
X?
Yeah.
Listen, chance. All right, I got one large left. Who's left?
I'll take that.
You ain't. You're all grubby. You ain't coming to my house looking like that selling me shit. All right. What size are you?
I think a small and medium.
Medium? We got that here at Target. Wolf
How do you
Target.
expect me to come to your house in a clean shirt if you won't give me one?
When you can come home from work without being all greased out, we call it.
I don't know what that means.
You ever see Ron with his shirt, he comes up from here? Oh, 50 shirt. What do you got?
What do you got? What do you want?
Or Shasta.
What do you want?
I don't want a shirt that looks like coffee.
Good. What do you got, man? What do you got? Huh?
Yep.
What do you got, Chuck? These I got.
Yeah, like fiber mix. What I use at home for my screen.
You're gonna give me one to hang up at the large?
I asked you.
Go large, go
What do you
large.
want?
Yeah. Clutch it up, well.
Yeah. What size you wear?
I get the biggest size you got.
What, you gonna give it to your girlfriend? Who didn't get one? You're lucky, last one. Did you get one? What do you want? When I asked who didn't get one, you kind of.
Just how you reflect.
I'm my division. I'll get you one. What do you wear? Large? You want mine? I showered. Yeah, that was sweaty. What? No, he wants a polo. I know where he goes. I'll get him one. All right. All right. Yo. Hey. Yo means what the fuck, okay? You want to get out of here or you want to wait? Okay, get up. All right, anybody got any questions? I want to apologize and I want to thank you for not being my typical me. This is the second time I've done this class. I got a lot of room for improvement, without a doubt. I will let you guys know who need the hours for the recertification. I'm praying that one of the plings that I've heard on my computer is them. We'll get back to you as soon as we get that information. We appreciate your business again. 2 weeks from today, I think Mr. Nikoloff is going to be doing a Navion class for me, the next round. And I think we only got 2 left after that. One's an evacuation, new refrigerant class, and then the last one will be